Welcome to the cultivation universe where everything abnormal is normal. And today's main character, Bai Xiaochun, is living proof. A young man who fears death more than the sky falling. A genius whose main talent is causing trouble. And also the only person who can make the entire sect want to beat him, protect him, and avoid him as much as possible. A will eternal, a cultivation story full of laughter. But beneath it is the emotional journey of a seemingly useless person who carries within him a will that can shake heaven and earth. If you want a story that's addictive from the first listen, humorous, touching, and extremely captivating, then this is the perfect choice. Now let's embark on a journey where just one thought is enough to shake eternity. Bai Xiaochun made up his mind not to delay any longer. Early the next morning, he would leave Zhongfeng and head to Xiao's Peak. Xiao's Peak was the little finger of the five-fingered giant bloodstream sect. It looked small, but in reality, all the cultivators from Xiao's Peak practiced body cultivation, each possessing boundless strength and ferocity far exceeding that of their peers. As soon as Bai Xiaochun ascended the mountain, he saw the cultivators of Xiao's Peak. Their tall, strong bodies, coupled with their intense blood energy, filled the entire peak with the smell of blood. Along the way, Bai Xiaochun was startled by the sight. Looking at the imposing figures around him, both male and female, made him feel nervous and somewhat resentful. Are you as strong as me, Hemph? What good is being tall and strong? I have the strength of four demons, Bai Xiaochun glared. Most of the cultivators hurrying along the mountain path showed weariness and coldness upon seeing him. Soon, Bai Xiaochun arrived at the upper part of Xiaozhi Peak. Upon his arrival, the Grand Elder Han Shandong personally came out to greet him. After some small talk, he led Bai Xiaochun into the Blood Sun Hall at the peak of the mountain. Xiaozhi Peak's Blood Sun was seated inside. The moment Bai Xiaochun entered, he laughed loudly and stood up. Yes, junior brother, Xiaozhi Peak's Blood Sun was a middle-aged man, burly and imposing, his aura far stronger than Han Shandong's. His standing up made Bai Xiaochun feel as if a giant had risen, even causing the blood energy in all directions to tremble and rumble. A wave of oppressive power descended, causing Bai Xiaochun's steps to momentarily falter. Looking up at Xiaozhi Peak's Blood Sun approaching, he was startled. Along the way, Bai Xiaochun had been constantly examining Xiaozhi Peak's body cultivation methods and had gleaned some clues. Now, seeing Blood Sun, he had a few more observations. Can it be compared to the second level of the Immortal Diamond Sutra? Bai Xiaochun's heart trembled slightly, but his expression remained unchanged. He smiled coldly and clasped his hands in greeting. Greetings, Blood Sun, Brother Yizhang. There's no need for formalities. I'm straightforward and don't like beating around the bush. What I need you to refine now is a level for Blood Body Pill. Blood Sun's eyes gleamed as he looked at Bai Xiaochun, his voice like a surging wave. This medicine only has one effect. It can help my body refining secret technique of Xiaozhi Peak increase by another level in a short time. War is coming. Everyone should prepare themselves. For me, unless I reach level 5, even a level for pill is useless. I can buy them outside. Therefore, what I need is not just one pill, but at least 100 level for blood body pills or higher. Yizhang, can you guarantee that you can refine 100 level for blood body pills for me? Xiaozhi Peak's Blood Sun's eyes shone brightly as he looked at Bai Xiaochun. His voice shook the entire Blood Sun Palace. If there are enough medicinal herbs and enough alchemy furnaces, 100 pills won't be difficult. Bai Xiaochun's ears ached from the shock. He felt that Xiaozhi Peak's Blood Sun was a big myth, so he defiantly roared back. The man's roar startled Xiao Zifeng's Blood Sun, as he had always spoken loudly to others, but very few responded to him like this. He glanced at Bai Xiaochun several times before bursting into laughter. The medicinal herbs are plentiful, and the furnace is even more so. Come here, junior brother Yizhang. I'll take you to see the peerless furnace specially prepared for you. As Xiao Zifeng's Blood Sun's laughter echoed, shaking the entire mountain, he flicked his sleeve, leading Bai Xiaochun and the Grand Elder, who had remained respectfully silent, to an open area atop his finger. This area was surrounded by a protective formation. This formation was extraordinary. It not only blocked vibrations but also contained auras. The hallucinogenic mist, like that used during alchemy on shipping, would not be able to spread outside within this formation. Evidently, Xiao Zifeng had specially prepared this to prevent any unforeseen incidents. Bai Xiaochun saw this, coughed lightly, and without saying anything, quickly followed Xiao Zifeng and Zuzi to a large cave dwelling. Even this cave dwelling was newly built, completely pristine. Deep inside the cave was a large hall, and in this hall sat an object. After seeing this object, Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, his eyes flashing with an inexplicable gleam. He suddenly flew up, instantly approaching it, circling around it repeatedly, sniffing it. The object was a pill furnace, an extremely large pill furnace, about 30 feet in diameter, entirely green, with countless undulating patterns on its surface, and the swirling steam emanating from it made it seem incredibly sturdy, capable of shaking the heavens and earth. This alchemy furnace. Bai Xiaochun raised his right hand and lightly touched it, immediately feeling a heavy sensation, his whole body filled with excitement. Previously, he had been troubled by the problem of the alchemy furnace exploding, and was forced to reduce the medicinal effects, making it difficult to fully display his alchemy skills. But now, upon seeing this furnace, Bai Xiaochun became excited. Junior brother Yizhang, this alchemy furnace is a treasure that several generations of blood sons of Xiaozhe Peak obtained from Dangxi sect. Although it's not a genuine heaven-earth-grade furnace, it's a rare imitation of a heaven-grade furnace. This is the alchemy furnace I prepared for you. You can rest assured and go practice alchemy. Rest assured, this kind of treasure furnace will never explode. Xiaozhe Peak Blood Sun laughed heartily, proudly saying, although he was a body-cultivating cultivator, he didn't lack caution. Having invited Bai Xiaochun to refine pills, he had undoubtedly prepared for the possibility of encountering the demon of warmth. The existing furnace wouldn't explode, and the surrounding area was sealed with powerful formations, preventing any air from escaping. Therefore, he believed there were absolutely no loopholes. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, circled the furnace, and examined it with satisfaction, feeling he could now fully utilize his skills and test all the medicinal properties he couldn't before. However, he was still somewhat uneasy, so he tilted his head and looked at Xiaozhe Peak's Blood Sun. Are you absolutely certain this furnace will never explode? Of course I am. Xiaozhe Peak's Blood Sun laughed, his face beaming with pride. Good, since you're so sure, Yizhang will refine this medicine. Bai Xiaochun patted the furnace and burst into laughter. Xiaozhe Peak's Blood Sun also laughed and stared intently at Bai Xiaochun. He raised his right hand, and a bag of items flew out. Then he turned and left. Elder Xiao Zifeng, standing beside him, also clasped his hands towards Bai Xiaochun and turned to leave. Very quickly, only Bai Xiaochun remained in the cave. He looked at the enormous alchemy furnace in front of him with increasing excitement. He picked up the bag and examined its contents. Inside were a large quantity of medicinal herbs, blood firestone, and a jade slip. The jade slip contained not only the blood-body elixir formula, but also Xiao Zifeng's secret body cultivation technique, blood-killing body cultivation. Bai Xiaochun examined it very carefully. Only when night fell outside did he finally finish reading. He then sat cross-legged, slowly closed his eyes, and began to ponder. After a long time, his eyes opened, a look of understanding appearing on his face. This blood slaughter body technique is actually a kind of imitation of the immortal scroll researched by generations of cultivators from Xiaozhe Peak and Bloodstream sect, derived from this giant hand. It primarily uses totems, in order, ancient statues, savage demons, celestial demons, and blood slaughter. It utilizes the blood essence of this place, infusing it into the flesh and blood of the body, continuously using secret techniques to stimulate changes in the body's structure, leading to a surge of immense physical strength. While it appears to be cultivation, it's actually a transformation, similar in some aspects to the immortal scroll that Bai Xiaochun cultivates, but completely different. The immortal scroll alters the body's structure, but it unleashes boundless power from within, encompassing both offense and defense. However, this blood slaughter body technique has some valuable aspects. Once integrated, it might allow my immortal scroll to break through to the second level sooner. After careful analysis, Bai Xiaochun's spirits were high. He began to try cultivating it. Amidst the resounding explosion, blood vapor surged from all directions, entering his body and continuously stimulating his flesh and blood according to the blood slaughter body cultivation technique. He controlled its transformation, not altering its structure, but instead propelling the immortal diamond scroll's circulation. After a night, the next morning, when Bai Xiaochun opened his eyes, a look of joy appeared in them. This one night of cultivation was equivalent to 3 days of his usual practice. It really worked, ha. Bai Xiaochun was overjoyed. His feeling that the bloodstream sect was his sacred place grew stronger. While feeling this way, he looked at the enormous alchemy furnace beside him, a strange light flashing in his eyes. He immediately stepped forward and clapped his right hand. Boom, the furnace opened. He flew up and stood on top of the furnace. After observing it closely, he became even more tempted. Since the furnace didn't explode, I can now test the full medicinal power. Just as he was about to act, Bai Xiaochun suddenly froze. It really won't explode, will it? Bai Xiaochun hesitated. Never mind, if that blood son of the Xiao family guarantees it won't explode, then it probably won't. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, no longer dwelling on that issue. His eyes filled with fascination as he prepared to refine a large batch of pills. Dragon Star Grass. Before, I only put 1 root, but now I can finally put 10. Fire Cloud Fruit. Let's put 20. And this Starlight Leaf too. According to the method, half a leaf is enough. But with such a large alchemy furnace, how can half a leaf be enough? Let's put 10 leaves. Bai Xiaochun muttered softly, circling the alchemy furnace, continuously taking out herbs, arranging them a bit, and then throwing them all into the furnace. He also placed a large amount of blood firestone at the bottom of the furnace, generating high temperatures. This alchemy furnace was truly extraordinary. With such high temperatures, other alchemy furnaces would definitely be glowing red, but this huge furnace only heated up slightly. Seeing this, Bai Xiaochun became even happier, immersing himself in the process of making medicine, adding more and more herbs. Not controlling the explosive medicinal power but throwing them in freely, wholeheartedly focusing on refining the formula. That kind of feeling made him feel exhilarated. He didn't need to worry about the product, the potency of the medicine, or whether the alchemy furnace could handle it. He only needed to worry about how to refine it. This made Bai Xiaochun feel refreshed. Even with his disheveled hair and bloodshot eyes, he was as excited as ever. He continuously threw out medicinal herbs. After 7 days, about half of the herbs in his storage bag had been emptied, and the medicinal power inside the alchemy furnace, after constantly interacting and counteracting each other, began to erupt. Occasionally, a rumbling sound emanated from the furnace. The furnace's color was no longer green but gradually turned red. But upon closer inspection, it was clear that it hadn't exploded. Seeing this, Bai Xiaochun looked up at the sky and laughed loudly. It's perfect! He felt completely at ease, continuing to immerse himself in the process of making the medicine. Not only did he continuously add herbs, but under the contemplation of the formula in his mind, he experimented with every idea that constantly arose, even using the methods of the myriad herbs to create the necessary medicinal power. 5 days passed, and the explosions inside the alchemy furnace grew louder, the entire furnace turning a deep crimson. Bai Xiaochun finally put all the herbs inside. He sat down contentedly, but suddenly remembered something and quickly waved his hand, drawing in the surrounding blood essence, condensing an immortal blood ray imbued with his own will into the furnace. Only then did he control the lid to close the alchemy furnace. However, as soon as it was closed, the medicinal power within the furnace, which had been constantly colliding and merging, could no longer escape, erupting like thunder. Amidst the resounding explosions, the alchemy furnace trembled, and the temperature visibly rose wildly. At first, Bai Xiaochun didn't pay much attention, still marveling at the miraculous nature of this alchemy furnace. Since it hadn't exploded, he calmly continued cultivating his body refining techniques, occasionally checking and adjusting the changes in the medicinal power inside. However, a few days later, Bai Xiaochun began to panic. He looked at the alchemy furnace, which had completely turned red, and saw the space within a radius of 1 meter around it warping under the high temperature. Even the ground showed signs of cracking. Bai Xiaochun swallowed hard, intending to approach, but the heat wave hitting his face frightened him, causing him to quickly retreat, his heart trembling. If this huge alchemy furnace explodes, my life will be over. Bai Xiaojun blinked. Even though he remembered the confident words, "This alchemy furnace will never explode," he still felt a sense of unease and apprehension. Nothing will happen. Bai Xiaojun felt a little regretful. He had thrown into many medicinal herbs before, and initially couldn't control them. He was truly addicted. But looking at the furnace's current state, he felt it didn't seem like it wouldn't explode. 4 days later, the furnace began to shake, not just within a radius of 1 meter, but within 10 meters, the entire area was warped. The temperature was so high that even the walls felt like they were melting, seemingly rising every minute and every second. Bai Xiaojun was sweating profusely, his whole body trembling with fear. He tried to approach and stop it, but found he couldn't control it. The medicinal herbs inside the furnace were slowly forming. He could imagine that as the herbs formed, the temperature would rise even higher. Bai Xiaojun took a deep breath in frustration, extremely nervous. He felt as if he were sitting on a volcano that could erupt at any moment. He hastily retreated. Leaving the cave, he took a deep breath, assumed a mysterious air, and quickly left the area within the formation, intending to leave Shaozhe Peak. He thought Shaozhe Peak was too dangerous. It wasn't a suitable place to stay long. Before he could leave, the Grand Elder of Shaozhe Peak noticed him and flew out to stop Bai Xiaojun. "Junior brother Yizhang, where are you going? Have we finished refining our medicinal herbs?" The Grand Elder of Shaozhe Peak politely inquired. Bai Xiaojun felt nervous inside, but his expression showed no emotion. He clasped his hands behind his back and calmly said, "Rest assured, I have already refined the elixir. However, the 100 blood body pills will require more time to heat up. 3 months from now, I will come here to personally open the furnace, and then the pills will be ready. For now, I want to go to Nameless Peak. After all, I have promised them, so I must go and make the medicine." Bai Xiaojun quickly came up with an excuse. His expression was normal, his eyes calm. Although the Grand Elder of Shaozhe Peak was puzzled, he couldn't find any fault. "All right, I'll personally escort junior brother Yizhang to Wuming Peak." The Grand Elder of Shaozhe Peak still felt uneasy, so after saying that, he flew towards Wuming Peak with Bai Xiaojun. Bai Xiaojun blinked, then nodded, letting the other party follow. Near Wuming Peak, the dwarf of Wuming Peak immediately came out to greet them. Only then did Bai Xiaojun breathe a sigh of relief. After taking a few steps, he suddenly turned back to look at the Grand Elder of Shaozhe Peak. "By the way, for these 3 months, you cannot enter the alchemy cave, and you absolutely cannot touch the alchemy furnace, otherwise the elixirs will shatter, and you will have to bear the consequences yourself." After speaking, Bai Xiaojun turned and followed the dwarf to Wuming Peak, his heart filled with determination that he absolutely could not return to Shaozhe Peak. If the blood son of Shaozhe Peak is right, then the alchemy furnace absolutely won't explode, and the elixirs can be successfully refined if the furnace explodes. "It's not my fault." Thinking this, Bai Xiaojun felt he was being righteous and hadn't done anything wrong, so he calmly followed the Great Elder of Wuming Peak to greet the blood son of Wuming Peak. According to their previous agreement, the blood son of Wuming Peak had given Bai Xiaojun a demon, and the Great Elder of Wuming Peak had arranged an area for him to practice alchemy. Almost simultaneously with Bai Xiaojun entering the alchemy area, news of his arrival at Wuming Peak to practice alchemy spread. All the cultivators of Wuming Peak were greatly shaken, and they all took a deep breath. They knew Bai Xiaojun had the nickname Wenmo Worm Demon, and had heard of the terrifying power of his alchemy, which could even rival that of an ancestor. Everyone could face life or death danger at any moment. Scenes from Zhongfeng and Shifeng flashed through the minds of the cultivators of Wuming Peak. They lacked the confidence of the body-cultivating cultivators of Shaozhe Peak, so at this moment, they were all terrified and frightened. The Demon Lord is here. When he concocts his potions, they're incredibly terrifying. Do you remember Zhao Shimu from the peak of the underworld? He used to be lost in hallucinations, believing himself to be a spiritual herb. Even now, after all this time, when he sees a spiritual herb, he still can't help but freeze up. That's nothing compared to that Qi Bao sometimes claims to be Bai Zikun in his sleep. And then there are the fellow disciples of the Central Peak. Many of them, even after recovering, are completely bald and still suffer from the after effects of cholera. I even once saw a Central Peak cultivator sparring with someone who was clearly in a superior position, but suddenly turned pale. You understand? Right, such gossip quickly spread, especially around where Bai Xiaochun was making medicine. The cultivators there were all stunned, and they all left as quickly as possible. Very soon, almost 5/10 of the cultivators from Yuming Peak chose to leave their cave dwellings and head down the mountain to find places to stay. Bai Xiaochun was somewhat bewildered to see Yuming Peak become much quieter, and the surroundings even more desolate and deserted, so he quickly cleared his throat. He thought to himself, I haven't done anything. Why are these people so sensitive? Nothing happened while I was making medicine on Xiao'osh Peak, Bai Xiaochun said, feeling a little unconvinced. After returning to his medicine-making area, he sat down cross-legged, his gaze sweeping across the surroundings, finally settling on a corner. There, a dark shadow was drifting sluggishly, emitting a chilling and gloomy aura. This was the demon of Wuming Peak, similar to the vengeful spirits of Ghost Fang Peak and Lingxi Sect, but with some differences. Vengeful spirits lack intelligence and have limited development potential, but demons are different. Through refinement and time, they develop sentience and can cultivate themselves. They are no less ferocious than vengeful spirits, but far more cunning. Especially when refined to a certain level, they can manifest some bizarre supernatural abilities coupled with the ability to possess human bodies, control them, and even transform into inner demons capable of invisibly killing people, acting viciously and bloodthirsty. Different refinement methods produce different demons. The name of the Bloodstream Sect's demonic sect is closely related to the demon of the Nameless Peak. As for the demon's origins, Bai Xiaochun doesn't know either. This is an extremely secret matter of the Bloodstream Sect. The demon in his cave is just an ordinary newborn demon, with low intelligence, frightened by Bai Xiaochun's killing intent, hiding in a corner trembling. Come here, Bai Xiaochun's gaze swept over the trembling shadow in the corner. He took out a purple jade token from his storage bag. As he spoke, the shadow trembled again, slowly flying towards Bai Xiaochun. When it reached him, it condensed into a cloud of mist, within which a face appeared and disappeared. Bai Xiaochun raised his right hand to grab it, but it passed right through. The demon's lack of a physical body piqued Bai Xiaochun's interest even more. A Bloodstream Sect demon, somewhat similar to a vengeful ghost. Perhaps ghosts are formed from the souls of the dead, but this demon, why did it appear here? Bai Xiaochun pondered for a long time without finding any clues, but he vaguely felt that the demon and he, besides the jade token controlling the Nameless Peak, seemed to have some other, more intimate connection. The more Bai Xiaochun thought about it, the more he could only attribute the creation of the demon to the immense merit of cultivating the immortal longevity technique. While Bai Xiaochun was pondering, the face in the mist suddenly revealed a ferocious glint in its eyes, urging the mist to surge violently towards Bai Xiaochun. A wave of icy coldness instantly spread, carrying a ferocity that seemed to want to devour Bai Xiaochun's soul. Bai Xiaochun was slightly startled, and the demon's sudden counterattack further frightened him. His cultivation suddenly dissipated, violently shooting outwards. The demon let out a scream, and the mist surrounding its entire body clearly shattered a little. Only half of it quickly retreated, once again cowering in the corner, trembling. How audacious! Bai Xiaochun angrily took a few steps forward and fiercely kicked the black shadow. The demon quickly dodged, and Bai Xiaochun snorted coldly, looking at the jade pendant in his hand. This jade pendant not only could be used to control demons, but it also explained how to make them stronger through various methods, such as refining, nurturing, and so on. The most common method is to nurture the demon with one's own blood, creating a bond between the demon and the master, reaching a level where the demon instantly senses their thoughts. This nurturing process also gradually increases the demon's cultivation level. Another method involves killing and devouring. Killing fuels bloodlust, while devouring intensifies ferocity. Another perspective is that demons are inherently treacherous and must be forcibly suppressed from the outset to prevent them from retaliating or betraying. Otherwise, the stronger they become, the harder they are to control. This demon, just born, dares to bite its master. Bai Xiaochun angrily manipulated the jade pendant, preventing the demon from dodging, then advanced and delivered several kicks. With his cultivation level, after a few moves, the demonic mist once again dissipated considerably, leaving only a small pile of ruins, constantly emitting pathetic cries begging for forgiveness. Remember, I'm very powerful. If you dare to provoke me, I'll make you look bad. Humph, calling you Little Black is fine," Bai Xiaochun said seriously, and after giving it a name, he ignored it and began studying the blood elixir formula left behind by the Nameless Peak's blood spirit to refine. Immortal blood elixir. Bai Xiaochun pondered. He had heard of this immortal blood elixir before. Many years ago, an ancestor of the bloodstream sect had successfully created it under the ruined wall, a type of elixir that greatly benefited all four peaks of the bloodstream sect. Not only was it exceptionally effective in refining demons, but it also boosted the corpse refining of the corpse peak and body refining on the Shaozhe peak. Therefore, since its creation, this pill has been in great demand for the bloodstream sect. The only problem is that this immortal blood pill is extremely difficult to refine. It's manageable for pills below the 3rd stage, but incredibly difficult for pills above the 4th stage. However, once successfully refined, its effects are extraordinary. If one can refine a 5th stage immortal blood pill, they can achieve transcendence, even awakening some of the hidden inner power of the bloodstream sect. For example, Weiming Peak intends to have Yi Zhang help refine a 4th stage immortal blood pill to try and awaken an ancient demon slumbering within. Bai Xiaochun held the prescription, becoming increasingly astonished as he read it. The prescription contained a total of 97 herbs, each with numerous variations. All these variations required the water of the Tongshan River to suppress them until perfect fusion, and then, with the addition of a massive amount of spiritual blood, the immortal blood pill was refined. Any single mismatch in combination will lead to a failed alchemy attempt. Moreover, to grasp the key points in the process of these herbs' fusion, complete neutralization and harmonious energy must be achieved at the beginning. Only then will they be able to unleash 9 distinct streams of blood energy. One stream of blood energy is a 1st stage elixir. Using this, I deduce that the blood essence from the Nameless Peak that I used to refine the immortal blood elixir contains 4 streams of blood energy, making it a 4th stage elixir. Bai Xiaochun's eyes flashed. After carefully studying it, his admiration for the creator of the immortal blood elixir formula grew even stronger. No wonder this pill is so difficult to refine. One simple blood shot is easy, but 2 or more require a series of deductions and calculations, and an extremely rich level of medicinal knowledge. The complexity of 3 blood shot exceeds 12 blood shot, and 4 blood shot is even more exaggerated. To refine it properly, one needs to know all kinds of herbs and plants. Only by grasping the essence of various medicinal materials can one reverse the refining process, thus simplifying the process. A strange light flashed in Bai Xiaochun's eyes. He finally realized that refining this immortal blood pill in the normal way would be incredibly difficult. Beyond imagination, only reverse refining could solve it. Thinking this, Bai Xiaochun immediately took out his alchemy furnace and herbs and began the familiar refining process. He didn't hope for success on the first try, but rather to continuously explore and experiment during the refining process. Time flew by quickly. For half a month, Bai Xiaochun hadn't left his cave dwelling, immersed in alchemy. He opened several batches almost every day, not needing to take blood fire stones or gather herbs. A constant stream of medicinal herbs poured in daily. Under this mountain of resources, Bai Xiaochun understood the immortal blood elixir more and more. However, in the process of familiarizing himself with it, he ruined batch after batch of elixirs. Previously, Bai Xiaochun would simply throw away the ruined elixirs, but this time he hesitated, glancing at the demon still hiding in the corner of the room. I wonder if that demon can eat the elixir. Even though it's a waste elixir, it still contains a lot of essence. Bai Xiaochun thought for a moment, then took out a waste elixir and threw it in front of the demon. Eat it, Bai Xiaochun said expectantly, and the newly awakened demon, somewhat naive, flew over. As soon as it fully inhaled the futile pills, they instantly turned into visible dust, transforming into a wisp of black energy that entered the demon's body. He actually ate them. Bai Xiaochun was slightly delighted, so he threw all the futile pills to the demon. The demon's expression remained blank. After absorbing them all, the futile pills turned into dust and dissipated. The demon hiccuped contentedly, then collapsed to the side like a drunkard, closing its eyes and falling into a deep sleep. Haha, I'm still smart. These futile pills are clearly still usable. Bai Xiaochun checked the demon, finding no ill effects, and felt he had done something useful. Therefore, during the subsequent alchemy sessions, he occasionally observed the demon and generously gave it all away. Time passed, and another half-month went by. For the past half-month, Bai Xiaochun had opened many batches but continuously failed. Although he understood the methods for processing herbs and plants, he was still not proficient enough, and various problems kept arising. Fortunately, Bai Xiaochun constantly solved these problems, and at the same time, he threw all the discarded pills he made to the demon. I don't have anything else, but I have plenty of these discarded pills. Bai Xiaochun understood that this was very good. Cultivators couldn't swallow discarded pills, but the demon didn't mind. In fact, after swallowing pills for a month, the demon's body in Bai Xiaochun's cave had grown considerably larger. He no longer looked like a child but had transformed into a child of about 7 or 8 years old, completely black, with countless black mists constantly growing around him. More importantly, the demon's consciousness seemed to have improved a little. He was no longer often dazed but could follow Bai Xiaochun's instructions and perform some simple tasks. It's just that sometimes it seems a little contradictory to some of Bai Xiaochun's discarded pills, but he didn't dare not absorb them. There was even one time when Bai Xiaochun's pill furnace malfunctioned, showing signs of exploding. Bai Xiaochun immediately retreated and called out to Little Black. "Little Black, absorb it." Little Black immediately pounced, its body penetrating the inside of the pill furnace, gently absorbing the spiritual medicine inside to prevent the furnace from shattering. It then lay there trembling for a while, its eyes still vacant. Bai Xiaochun chuckled softly, feeling that the little demon was really quite good. "Well done, Little Black." Bai Xiaochun was very happy and continued refining pills. There was also another time when countless mists appeared in his pill furnace. As soon as he saw the mist, Bai Xiaochun knew that the mist would either turn into acid rain, or cause diarrhea if inhaled, or dissolve into the walls causing hallucinations. At that moment, he remembered Little Black again. "Little Black, suck it up." The demon Little Black bravely stepped forward once more, directly sucking up all the mist, then collapsed there, its misty body writhing and tumbling. If it had saliva, it would definitely be foaming at the mouth, its face utterly dazed. Bai Xiaochun immediately became excited. Good, Little Black. You're amazing." Bai Xiaochun was thrilled. He made up his mind that in the future, he must bring Little Black along when refining medicine. This Little Black was truly too outstanding. It ate the waste pills, it ate the poisonous smoke, it dealt with the furnace explosions. In short, it could handle any impurities and bad aspects related to medicine refining. However, Bai Xiaochun was so engrossed in refining medicine that he didn't notice that the demonic creature, Little Black, had gradually become more lively in the depths of its eyes after devouring various impurities over the past month. But it was usually very good at hiding its true nature, always appearing naive in front of Bai Xiaochun. Until one time, Bai Xiaochun was about to successfully refine a spirit medicine, but made a mistake, concocting a strange pill of unknown use. Looking at the strange pill, Bai Xiaochun sighed, and as he was about to put it away, he glanced at Little Black. "Little Black, suck it up." Bai Xiaochun glared at it. After he spoke, Little Black's body clearly paused for a moment, but it still flew over and gently sucked, its body trembling violently. Very quickly, after absorbing it completely, it fell with a thud to the ground. Bai Xiaochun was stunned. Just as he was about to investigate, Little Black roared loudly, its body suddenly leaping up, transforming into mist, and continuously shrieking piercingly as it rushed out of the cave. Bai Xiaochun immediately followed, observing. He saw that the demon seemed to have gone mad, jumping left and right, sometimes expanding as if about to explode, sometimes contracting as if about to dissipate, struggling for a long time before collapsing to the ground, barely alive. From then on, whenever it looked at Bai Xiaochun, there was always a deep fear in its eyes. Another half-month passed like this. Under Bai Xiaochun's relentless efforts, the fourth stage immortal blood pill began to slowly take shape. He was already able to condense 3 streams of blood energy, and the 4th stream of blood energy was also being researched to its final stage. For the past few months, Little Black had continued to consume elixirs. Although their quality improved somewhat, they were still all inferior pills, occasionally encountering a poisonous one that caused it to become uncontrollably agitated. It began to prefer venturing outside, floating around Nameless Peak, and occasionally encountering demons raised by other cultivators. Compared to other demons, which were filled with murderous intent, Little Black was clearly much weaker. Conflicts between demons were always brutal, with the strong prevailing over the weak, and usually required strict restraint from their masters to prevent problems. Little Black, however, was special. It seemed to easily get along with the other demons on Nameless Peak. There had never been any instances of killing or devouring between it and other demons. Bai Xiaochun was also surprised, but he didn't think much of it, remaining engrossed in alchemy. Another half-month passed, and today, he finally successfully refined a 4th-grade immortal blood pill. When the 4 streams of blood energy merged together yet remained distinct, Bai Xiaochun laughed loudly, overjoyed. His joy wasn't because he had successfully refined a 4th-grade immortal blood pill, but because this time, his alchemy hadn't affected anyone. No acid rain, no furnace explosions, no poisonous smoke, no diarrhea, no problems whatsoever. This was what truly filled Bai Xiaochun with joy and excitement. He felt he finally possessed the demeanor of a grand master. Haha, this time, nothing happened while I was refining medicine at Wuming Peak. From now on, who would dare call me a plague demon? In truth, although Bai Xiaochun was overjoyed, he was also very surprised. It wasn't just him who was surprised. All the cultivators of the Bloodstream sect, who had been paying attention to him, were equally astonished. Those who had been relocated from Nameless Peak were especially astonished. Everyone felt something was amiss, but couldn't find any clues. In the end, they could only accept, currently, Night Burial's alchemy was indeed extremely safe. Could it be that the Demon Lord has changed his ways? He's practicing alchemy and nothing unfortunate has happened. While everyone was still astonished, no one noticed that Bai Xiaochun's little black demon had already interacted with almost all the demons on Nameless Peak. The successful refinement of the 4th stage Immortal Blood Pill brought great joy to Blood Sun and the Great Elder of Nameless Peak. Not only did they reward Night Burial with the previously promised compensation, but they also held a grand ceremony, intending to cooperate with Night Burial long-term. The grand ceremony was held in the Blood Sun's Hall on Nameless Peak. Great Elder Song Jungwon was also invited to attend, and everyone treated Night Burial with great courtesy, praising him in every way. Bai Xiaochun realized this was the perfect time to display a calm and composed demeanor, so he lightly tilted his chin, a faint smile playing on his face. Song Jungwon, observing everything, chuckled. Whenever she looked at Yi Zhang, her expression deepened slightly. In an instant, the ceremony was halfway through. The Blood Sun of Wuming Peak rose and approached Yi Zhang, his laughter echoing. Yi Zhang, junior brother, your talent in medicine is exceptionally high, rarely seen in this era. You will undoubtedly become famous throughout the entire Eastern cultivation world in the future. If you can refine a 5th-grade immortal blood pill, it will cause an even greater sensation in the sect. I believe that day is not far off. The sect has already offered a reward for a 5th-grade immortal blood pill. Anyone who can refine it will have accomplished a great feat. Beside him, the Grand Elder of Wuming Peak also chimed in with a smile. Everyone around was excitedly chatting and gossiping. Bai Xiaochun was surrounded, listening to their words with great satisfaction, and was about to boast a few words when suddenly, a tremendous explosion, earth-shattering and thunderous, echoed from outside. This explosion was so loud, far exceeding thunder, and its sudden appearance caused the entire Nameless Peak to shake violently, the ground trembling as if the sky and earth were shifting. Moreover, a wave of heat swept in all directions, causing everyone in the Blood Palace on Nameless Peak to be terrified and their faces turn pale. At this moment, the sky also changed color, the earth trembled incessantly. Not only Nameless Peak felt it clearly, but also the peak of the central peak. At this very moment, everyone felt the earth shaking and mountains trembling. The inner disciples of the Bloodstream sect were in utter chaos, as were the outer disciples, countless shouts and cries of alarm resounding everywhere. And streaks of rainbow light instantly rose from the mountains into the sky. Even the Bloodstream sect's formation was instantly activated. What's happening? Could someone be attacking our Bloodstream sect? Has war broken out? The same was true for Ancestral Peak. Following the earth-shattering explosion and the surging heat waves, The supreme elders on Ancestral Peak were all terrified, releasing their divine senses to scan in all directions. Bai Xiaochun's expression also changed drastically. Everyone rushed out of the Blood Palace, their hearts pounding with shock, and Bai Xiaochun was even more breathless. As he flew out, Song Zhengwan beside him looked both wary and terrified. Looking across the other mountains, a large number of cultivators were flying into the air, each with an expression of disbelief and uncertainty. But very quickly, everyone stared in astonishment towards Shaozhe Peak. At this moment, a thick cloud of black smoke rose from Shaozhe Peak, forming a swirling, black mist that continuously spread in all directions, creating an incredibly terrifying spectacle. The source of the black smoke was precisely between the upper and lower parts of the mountain. Enormous cracks appeared all over the mountain, spreading in all directions. A collective gasp of breath filled the air. In an instant, everyone, including the Ancestral Peak, realized that the powerful explosion had originated from Shaozhe Peak. Shaozhe Peak! What's happening there? While everyone present was clamoring in astonishment, Bai Xiaochun, upon seeing the thick black smoke rising from Shaozhe Peak, felt his heart pounding, his eyes widening, and took a deep breath. He had vaguely felt that the earth-shattering explosion sounded somewhat familiar. Looking closer, he immediately recognized the source of the black smoke as the place where he practiced alchemy on Shaozhe Peak. Thinking back, the explosion was the sound of the alchemy furnace exploding. At this moment, he suddenly remembered. He still had an alchemy furnace on Shaozhe Peak. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, his heart trembled, and his breathing became rapid. Looking into the distance, countless mournful screams emanated from Shaozhe Peak. He felt his scalp tingle, and his vision suddenly went dark. It's ruined! It's ruined! While Bai Xiaochun and everyone in the Bloodstream sect were still reeling in shock, several streaks of rainbow light flew out from Shaozhe Peak. Leading the way was Shaozhe Peak's blood sun. His whole body trembled, his eyes bloodshot as he gazed at the chaotic scene on Shaozhe Peak, unable to speak, and let out a mournful scream. He knew clearly that this was caused by Yizhang. At this moment, he was frantically shouting for Yizhang, wanting to find Yizhang and kill him at all costs. But before the name Night Burial could even leave his mouth, here, Bai Xiaochun was one step ahead of Shaozhe Peak's blood sun, taking a deep breath, his heart filled with determination, his eyes bloodshot, and he gritted his teeth, letting out an earth-shattering roar, "My treasure pill!" Bai Xiaochun's mournful voice echoed in all directions. He pounded his chest in anguish, tearing at his hair, and frantically rushed out, straight towards Shaozhe Peak. How could this happen? Oh my god, why oh, my treasure pill? Bai Xiaochun seemed to have gone mad, his voice extremely pathetic. When he flew near Shaozhe Peak, he was startled to see the entire mountain in chaos, shrouded in black smoke. Shaozhe Peak was like a barren wasteland. More than half of the buildings and caves had collapsed. Many cultivators had pale, sickly faces and fiery eyes, but when they saw Bai Xiaochun, they showed fear. Bai Xiaochun completely ignored everyone, rushing to the central part of Shaozhe Peak, where he had previously practiced alchemy. The entire area had been leveled. The formations were gone, the caves were gone, the alchemy furnaces were gone. All that remained were a few fragments of the furnaces and an unimaginable wave of heat continuously radiating in all directions. At this moment, in midair, Shaozhe Peak's blood sun, the Great Elder, and the other blood-colored elders were all stunned, many of them with fresh blood at the corners of their mouths. They had originally intended to pick a fight with Bai Xiaochun, but unexpectedly, he appeared in person and looked even more miserable than them. Night Burial? Shaozhe Peak's blood sun gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with murderous intent, his figure flashing like lightning as he charged straight towards Bai Xiaochun. Shaozhe Peak's blood sun. Almost immediately after Xiao Zifeng Zuzi rushed forward, Bai Xiaochun's entire body trembled, as if he had gone mad. He turned around to look at Zuzi and roared, "I spent 3 months, expending countless hours and effort to refine a furnace of pills that nearly reached the 5th stage of the infinite realm." Bai Xiaochun trembled, his expression twisted with sorrow, and his entire body erupted with murderous intent. "Damn it, Xiao Zifeng Zuzi, didn't you say this furnace would never explode? Didn't you say this furnace was a treasure? Why did you deceive me?" Bai Xiaochun screamed wildly, his eyes bloodshot, his voice echoing in all directions. His aura was even stronger than Xiao Zifeng Zuzi's, clearly a retort, yet it made others feel as if he had truly gone mad. You! Xiao Zifeng Zuzi was furious. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but was speechless and unable to respond. Why did you deceive me? I tried so hard just to refine pills for you, but you deceived me. You even said this was a treasure obtained from the Dangxi sect, that it would never explode. If you had told me earlier that this furnace could explode, I wouldn't have wasted so many precious herbs. I could have just refined the pills as usual. Oh, my precious pills. Do you know how much effort I put into this batch of elixirs? Damn it, why did you tell me so early? Why did you deceive me? Bai Xiaochun's voice was hoarse from shouting. Most of the cultivators of the Bloodstream sect quickly came forward to witness the entire scene. Even the divine senses on the ancestral peak were mostly focused here. I told you, don't go near the furnace. Tell me, did you touch anything in the furnace? After saying the last sentence, Bai Xiaochun gave a bitter laugh, his expression showing extreme disappointment and bitterness. The Blood Sun and the Great Elder of Xiaozhe Peak didn't know how to refute Bai Xiaochun's words. It was true that Blood Sun had told Yu Zhang that the furnace wouldn't explode and had also said that no matter what trouble arose, it wouldn't be related to Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun's last words, in particular, caused their expressions to change drastically. Because, precisely, when they saw the temperature around the furnace getting hotter and hotter, almost turning the entire Xiaozhe Peak into a barren wasteland, they had no choice but to grit their teeth and look on. As a result, they are now in the wrong. But Xiaozhe Peak suffered too great a loss, and they were so ashamed that they became enraged. Xiaozhe Peak Blood Sun gritted his teeth. Nonsense, you were entrusted by our Xiaozhe Peak to help us refine medicine. If the medicine had been successfully refined, then so be it. I would accept everything here. But now, there's no sign of the medicine, and you've even destroyed our Xiaozhe Peak. Today, no matter what, you must give me justice. Xiaozhe Peak Blood Sun snorted coldly, intending to forcibly suppress Bai Xiaochun, using the furnace explosion to gain some advantage for Xiaozhe Peak. But at this moment, wait! Bai Xiaochun raised his right hand and gestured forward, his expression suddenly becoming serious. He twitched his nostrils, sniffing as if trying to distinguish the surrounding scent. That's not right, this smell. Do you smell medicine? Bai Xiaochun looked around and asked. Xia Zifeng, Zuzi frowned, snorted coldly, and suddenly flew forward. But as soon as he moved, Bai Xiaochun's figure flashed, appearing beside a dilapidated wall, not far from a broken alchemy furnace. His expression trembled, revealing disbelief. He lifted the piece of wall, and underneath was a pill. A pill emitting a 5-colored radiance. This pill was surrounded by a 5-colored halo, and the medicinal smell wasn't particularly strong, but everyone around was staring intently at the 5-colored light, their minds reeling. And many people gasped in astonishment. That's a 5th-grade spiritual medicine. I've never seen a 5th-grade spiritual medicine before. I heard that even in the Dangxi sect, only a few people can refine 5th-grade spiritual medicines. Any 5th-grade spiritual medicine is a priceless treasure. The 5-colored aura, that's a special sign of a 5th-grade spiritual medicine. My God, I can't believe it's really a 5th-grade spiritual medicine. The surrounding crowd was buzzing with excitement. Bai Xiaochun's heart trembled, his eyes widened, and he hastily reached out to grab the pill. He was in utter turmoil. He never expected to be able to refine a 5th-grade pill. At this moment, he desperately wanted to possess it, but in front of so many people, he could only rack his brains for a solution. Not only was Bai Xiaochun wide-eyed with astonishment, but Xiaozhe Peak's Blood Sun was also stunned. Beside him, Xiaozhe Peak's Grand Elder and the other Blood Elders were all breathing heavily. Seeing Bai Xiaochun holding the spiritual medicine in his hand, Xiaozhe Peak's Blood Sun suddenly burst into laughter, the killing intent on his body instantly disappearing. Misunderstanding, haha. Master Yu Zhang, what just happened between you and me was just a joke. Xiaozhe Peak's Blood Sun stepped forward, his face full of a sincere smile. Bai Xiaochun said nothing, only letting out a cold snort, his thoughts racing. How about this, Master Yu Zhang? We, Xiaozhe Peak, are willing to triple the promises we made before. Xiaozhe Peak's Blood Sun took a step forward, and the Grand Elders and blood-colored Elders of Xiaozhe Peak also stepped forward simultaneously, surrounding Bai Xiaochun. You dare to threaten our Central Peak cultivators right in front of me. At this moment, Song Zhenwan, who had been observing from the side, spoke indifferently. She also took a step forward, standing right in the middle of the crowd from Xiaozhe Peak, causing their hearts to pound. Xiaozhe Peak's blood son's expression became even more unpleasant. Just as the two sides were locked in a stalemate, a hoarse, aged voice suddenly echoed from the ancestral peak above, reverberating like thunder, shaking everyone's minds. Yi Zhang has refined a fifth-grade spiritual medicine, making him a prodigy of our bloodstream sect. He is hereby appointed as the blood-colored elder of the Central Peak. This elixir will belong to Xiaozhe Peak. Xiaozhe Peak must prepare resources and craft a blood-colored battle robe for Yi Zhang. While the voice still echoed, a hazy figure gradually appeared in midair. It was an old man in a red robe, his aura vast and his oppressive presence overwhelming, causing all the cultivators present to tremble and bow in reverence. This old man was the Song family's ancestor. Bai Xiaochun also took a deep breath and bowed respectfully. No one dared refuse the arrangements made by the Song family's patriarch. They could only agree. Today, the entire sect is focused here, which is good. I have 3 things I wish to discuss with you all. The Song family patriarch calmly spoke, his voice echoing throughout the entire sect. First, 7 days from now, cultivators from all 4 peaks will offer their blood energy to awaken the unchanging bone of our bloodstream sect. Second, 1 month from now, the Blood Sun trial of the Central Peak will begin. Finally, war has begun. After saying this, the Song family patriarch swept his gaze across everyone. Countless heavy breaths were heard, and then streaks of killing intent continuously condensed, gathering the aura of everyone and soaring straight into the sky. Fight! Fight! Everyone around roared in unison. In the roar, the entire bloodstream sect's momentum erupted, shaking the heavens and earth. Among the crowd, Bai Xiaochun also stared wide-eyed and roared, but his heart was filled with anxiety. Everyone dispersed. The Song family's ancestor glanced at Yi Zhang, a smile on his face, then turned and disappeared. One by one, everyone present, their hearts filled with the excitement of war, returned to their respective mountains. As for the 5th-grade spiritual medicine, although unwilling, Bai Xiaochun had no choice but to give it to Xiaozi, the blood son of the Blood Sun's peak. Afterward, he and Song Zhenwan returned to the Central Peak. Along the way, Song Zhenwan remained silent, a cold glint flashing in her eyes. Bai Xiaochun, troubled and worried, didn't want to speak. It wasn't until they reached the Central Peak that Song Zhenwan suddenly turned to look at Bai Xiaochun. Yi Zhang, for the Central Peak Blood Sun's trial, I need you to be my protector and help me compete for the position of Blood Sun. The blood trial is fraught with danger. You don't need to answer me immediately. As soon as I return to my cave dwelling, I will immediately go into seclusion. Before the blood trial opens, I will come out of seclusion to find you. At that time, you should let me know your decision. Song Zhenwan glanced deeply at Yi Zhang, then turned and headed towards the upper region of the finger. Bai Xiaochun remained silent, watching Song Zhenwan's retreating figure, his heart becoming even more complicated. After returning to his cave dwelling, he sat down cross-legged, feeling dejected. Through the words of the Song family's ancestor, Bai Xiaochun understood that after much discussion, the bloodstream sect's ancestors had decided that the two sects must go to war. Perhaps within a few months. In silence, 7 days passed. Early on the 8th day, the sound of bells echoed throughout the bloodstream sect. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath. As soon as he left the cave, he saw almost all the Foundation establishment cultivators from the 4 mountains flying up one by one. They gathered at the upper part of their main mountain. In an instant, 8 figures emerged directly from the ancestral peak, resembling giants, powerfully standing in midair. The 8 figures radiated a powerful aura, causing the surrounding space to tremble, making their forms indistinct. As soon as these 8 appeared, all the cultivators knelt down in reverence. Greetings, ancestors! A unified voice echoed in all directions, causing Bai Xiaochun's heart to tremble. He knew that these supreme figures were the 8 ancestors of the bloodstream sect. Wu Jizi and the Song family's ancestor were among them. In addition, there was another figure, clad in a purple robe, whose powerful aura far surpassed the others. Standing in midair, he seemed to dim even the sun. Waves of oppressive power enveloped the surroundings, akin to divine might. Everyone, unleash your blood energy to open the blood gate. A voice emanated from within the 8 figures, echoing in all directions, reverberating and spreading. The entire bloodstream sect's hand trembled, and the ground simultaneously displayed formation patterns. Immediately afterward, a surge of blood energy erupted, starting from Shaozhe Peak, countless streams of blood energy condensing at the mountaintop, forming a blood-colored column of light shooting into the sky. Following suit were Wuming Peak, Zhongfeng Peak, Shifeng Peak, and finally Zufeng Peak. Boom! 5 blood-colored columns of light, all soaring towards the blue sky, caused the heavens to change color, transforming into a blood red aura and then into a gigantic vortex. All the cultivators in the bloodstream sect felt a surging blood energy within their bodies. Their cultivation suddenly dissipated, and with a resounding roar, each person unleashed a burst of blood energy. All of this vital energy shot straight up into the air. At this moment, one of the 8 patriarchs stepped forward. This man was middle-aged, with a handsome appearance, and possessed a special charm that instantly instilled goodwill and trust in others. I am Han Yan, the one responsible for summoning the bloodstream's inner workings this time. We will need 9 assistant disciples to cultivate Qi and transform blood. Su Sheshen, Song Qiu, Zhu Mei, Han Dong, Zhou Zhengfeng. Ancestor Han Yan spoke softly, his voice calm. Even so, as an ancestor, his ordinary words were filled with authority. Each time he called a name, the person summoned immediately flew into the air to pay their respects to Han Yan. One by one, they appeared until 8 were present. All the disciples of the bloodstream sect took a deep breath, recognizing that these 8 were all earth vein cultivators who had experienced multiple tides, all contemporary geniuses of the bloodstream sect. At this moment, Ancestor Han Yan's gaze fell on Zhang Feng, and he spoke the name of the last person, Yi Zhang. Bai Xiaochun was slightly startled, but quickly adopted a serious demeanor, radiating killing intent. His eyes were cold, and his body leapt into the air, transforming into a rainbow as he soared straight into the sky, appearing in front of Han Yan Ancestor, lined up alongside the other 8. Yi Zhang's appearance didn't surprise the bloodstream sect disciples. It seemed that everyone felt Han Yan Ancestor's choice of him was inevitable. No one even uttered a word of discussion. This shows that within the bloodstream sect, the name Wenmo had long been renowned, causing everyone to deeply acknowledge Yi Zhang's identity, his strength, and his status as a prodigy. Not only did no one show surprise, but the people around Song Qiu, each with a fierce glint in their eyes, also didn't open their mouths to question anything. Bai Xiaochun had been in the bloodstream sect for many years. For ordinary people, that time couldn't be considered short, but for cultivators, it was merely a fleeting moment. All things considered, it wasn't short either. Through his own efforts, Bai Xiaochun had progressed step by step to this day. At this moment, under everyone's watchful eyes, he had gained the recognition of the entire sect. Bai Xiaochun immediately realized this. Although he had mentally prepared himself beforehand and had some understanding of his identity and status, he couldn't help but take a deep breath, feeling incredibly proud and arrogant. Hemph, wherever my Bai family goes, it's like the sun and moon, glorious and dazzling. Alas, who told me I'm so outstanding? Bai Xiaochun was very happy in his heart, but his expression showed no emotion. He maintained a cold and serious demeanor, radiating killing intent, as he confronted the other 8 prodigies. In mid-air, the 8 bloodstream sect ancestors, although their appearances were all blurry and unclear, still noticed that when they looked at the 9 people, they all nodded slightly in approval, especially Yi Zhang, who attracted the attention of many ancestors. Yi Zhang, being a Mortal Dao Foundation establishment cultivator, had risen to prominence in recent years, and they had taken notice of him, even secretly investigating him several times. However, because the mask on Bai Xiaochun's face was a supreme treasure, it revealed no flaws whatsoever. His medicinal skills were truly crucial to the bloodstream sect. As time passed, although there were still doubts, no one took them too seriously. 9 of you, sit down on the blood altars, refine your qi and transform your blood. Assist me in opening the inner gate and awakening the unchanging bone. Ancestor Han Yan spoke indifferently, waving his right hand. Immediately, 9 streams of blood light flew out, transforming into 9 blood-colored altars. Bai Xiaochun and the other 9 sat cross-legged on each altar. In fact, awakening the unchanging bone didn't require Bai Xiaochun and the others, but with war imminent, the ancestors had decided after deliberation that the cultivators of the sect must personally experience the inner strength of the sect. Ancestor Hanyan, being on the war side, became the one presiding over the opening of the sect's inner gate. At this moment, his gaze, like lightning, swept over all of Bai Xiaochun and the others. His gaze held an overwhelming pressure that startled Bai Xiaochun, making him feel as if all his secrets were being seen through. The other 8 felt the same way, so they dared not show any defiance and respectfully bowed their heads. Ancestor Hanyan withdrew his gaze, looked up at the sky, and raised his right hand, forcefully waving it towards the heavens. Immediately, the entire bloodstream sect's 5 mountains exploded, and 5 pillars of blood expanded several times their original size, causing the blood-colored vortex in the sky to suddenly widen and spin faster. A huge blood-colored eye appeared in the center of the vortex. As this eye slowly opened, the heavens and earth instantly changed color, and an endless pressure descended. A raging storm swept across, and blood mist filled the air, causing countless bloodstream sect disciples to tremble and kneel in reverence. Raise your heads and look, the inner strength of our bloodstream sect, a strength that has threatened 3 other sects. At this moment, Ancestor Hanyan spoke indifferently, his voice seemingly containing a strange power that caused those who heard it to instinctively raise their heads and look towards the blood-red eye in the sky. Bai Xiaochun's heart also trembled violently. Under this pressure, the immortal longevity technique in his body immediately began to circulate slowly on its own, seemingly resonating with that blood-red eye. Beside him, Songqiu, Ansu, and Miai were also shaken, but they didn't lower their heads. Instead, they tried to look up at the vortex in the eye in the sky. Just a glance caused countless people to cry out in fear. Even Songqiu and his group, despite their different statuses and their long-standing knowledge of the sect's hidden strength, still gasped, their expressions filled with terror. Bai Xiaochun's eyes widened even further, his heart pounding like thunder. Looking at the enormous blood-red eye, he saw 4 blurry figures outside the pupil. One was a gigantic purple skull. Lightning swirled around its entire body. The skull sat cross-legged outside the pupil, enveloped in deathly aura, motionless, yet radiating an astonishing pressure that instantly shocked anyone who saw it. Bai Xiaochun understood Shai Feng well, and after a moment's thought, he deduced that the skull was Shai Feng's high-level corpse refining technique, surpassing even the Flying Bone stage. The Unbreakable Bone stage. Flying Bone stage cultivators are comparable to core formation cultivators. Could it possibly be comparable to nascent soul cultivators? Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath. The second blurry figure was a cloud of black mist. Within the mist, thousands upon thousands of faces seemed to constantly shift and change, all of them aged and marked by the ravages of time, appearing and disappearing in the fog. This was a demon lord, its aura and oppressive power comparable to that of the undying bone. The third vague figure was a piece of skin. The skin, having existed for countless years, was withered and dry, yet it exuded a terrifying aura, even more powerful than the undying bone and the demon lord. Looking at the fourth phantom, Bai Xiaochun was even more terrified. It was a sword, a blood-red sword, with a small red figure sitting cross-legged on its hilt. This figure had no hair, and although only the size of a hand, it possessed an overwhelming killing intent, overpowering the other 3 phantoms. It was clearly the leader of the 4 phantoms. The Unbreakable Bone Seal, the Nameless Seal, the Thousand-Faced Demon Seal, the Young Master Seal, the Totem Cloth Seal, the Central Seal, the Blood Ancestor Sword. These are the seals of our bloodstream sect, and what they are suppressing is located right within the pupil of the blood-colored eye, also one of the secrets of our bloodstream sect. The Blood Dao Sacrifice. Ancestor Hanyan flicked his right sleeve, and immediately the pupil of the blood-colored eye opened wide, vaguely revealing a 5th illusory image within. This 5th illusory image was the supreme treasure, hidden within the eye and guarded by the other 4. Bai Xiaochun's breathing quickened, his eyes wide with intense focus, and he gradually saw that the illusory image in the pupil was a scarecrow. The scarecrow was incredibly grotesque. It held a piece of human skin in one hand and a scale in the other, a sinister smile playing on its lips, seemingly mocking. But upon meeting the scarecrow's gaze, Bai Xiaochun felt a resounding explosion in his head, his entire being overwhelmed by the scarecrow's smile. But at that moment, The heavenly Tao energy within Bai Xiaochun's body suddenly dispersed, instantly dispelling the scarecrow's image from his mind. He gasped for breath, calming down. He then saw true immortal Han Yin looking at him with an appreciative gaze. The other 8 people were experiencing varying degrees of shock. Zhu Mei was the next to awaken, followed by Song Qiu, and the others also successively overcame the illusion, awakening one after another. These are just a part of the bloodstream sect's inner workings. Now, everyone release your blood energy. You 9 will refine your blood energy and assist me in awakening the unchanging bone. Once the unchanging bone is awakened, the remaining 3 spirits will gradually awaken on their own. When they are all fully awakened, the blood Tao sacrifice can then leave the blood eye sealing realm. As soon as Ancestor Han Yin finished speaking, countless cultivators below the core formation realm of the bloodstream sect immediately began to circulate their cultivation. Foundation establishment cultivators, inner disciples, outer disciples, over 100,000 people moved their cultivation and dispersed their blood energy, instantly creating countless blood mists that flew straight up into the air towards the 9 blood platforms and quickly merged into them. As soon as the blood-colored altars gathered this blood energy, Bai Xiaochun, who was sitting on the 5th blood platform, was shaken. The dense blood energy from the blood platforms directly erupted towards him, enveloping his entire body and frantically entering through every pore. Before Bai Xiaochun could think, the immortal longevity technique in his body immediately activated, absorbing this blood energy. He glanced at the others and found that Blood Plum and Song Qiu were also doing the same, all fully absorbing, using themselves as refining tools. Using the bloodstream sect's secret techniques to refine this blood energy into fresh blood, Blood Plum was the first to successfully refine it. A drop of fresh blood flew from her head, but it didn't ascend further, instead floating above her head. Next was Song Qiu. Bai Xiaochun seized the opportunity to study, following the method of refining the immortal blood. He also refined the blood energy in his body into a drop of fresh blood, which flew out of his head and floated at the top. The 9 of them continuously condensed fresh blood. As time passed, the blood on each person's head increased. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Blood Plum's eyes suddenly opened. The fresh blood on her head had condensed to the size of a fist, and it flew directly to the front of the Han Yin ancestor. The Han Yin ancestor assessed the blood sphere and nodded slightly. The fist-sized drop of blood flew up, transforming into a blood-colored rainbow that went straight to the unchanging bone, merging into its bones, causing the unchanging bone's body to tremble and move, a surge of life force gradually growing within it. We still need 8 more drops, Han Yin Jianren said indifferently. Meanwhile, the immense amount of blood energy continued to concentrate on the 9 blood-colored altars. Bai Xiaochun's expression was serious, but a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. So much blood energy. Should I keep some for myself? Bai Xiaochun hesitated slightly, glancing at the other prodigies on the blood-colored altar. Except for Zhu Mei, who had succeeded, the other 7 were still continuously condensing their blood energy. Bai Xiaochun immediately became angry. He felt these people were being a bit excessive. Song Qiu, with his 8-tied earth vein pillar, was using the blood-colored altar to refine his blood energy, and although slower than Zhu Mei, he certainly wouldn't be that slow. Yet he had only completed about 70%. The others were similar, the slowest only at 3%. I'm still too righteous. I'm still hesitating, but all of them are saving their blood energy for their own cultivation. Bai Xiaochun noticed something was amiss, his righteous spirit growing stronger. He glanced at Zhu Mei, feeling she was too foolish, her level of righteousness somewhat lacking compared to his own. Forget it. They say when in Rome, do as the Romans do. As a spy, I absolutely shouldn't stand alone. I should follow everyone else. I don't want to either. Who knows? As Bai Xiaochun sighed, he forcefully absorbed the blood energy he had previously gathered, barely retaining 90% of it. Because he absorbed so forcefully, the blood sphere at the top of his head, which was already more than half complete, withered by half at a speed visible to the naked eye. No one sitting below noticed this, but Song Qiu and his group saw it all. They glared angrily at Bai Xiaochun, cursing him inwardly for his shamelessness. Ancestor Han Yin also hesitated slightly, glancing at Bai Xiaochun several times. The other ancestors had strange expressions on their faces. This time, having 9 people assist him, besides allowing this generation's prodigies to better understand the inner workings. also intended to use this opportunity to further enhance the cultivation of these 9 people. As for how much they can elevate themselves and how to grasp the limits, that depends on these 9 individuals. Blood Plum's aspiration is Blood Sun, disregarding this goes without saying. But what the ancestors saw was Night Burial, shamelessly completing more than half of it only to snatch it back. If it were just Night Burial, it would be acceptable. But very quickly, Song Qiu, Su Xiaoshan, and several others followed suit, all rushing to do the same, making the ancestors truly unable to bear it any longer. After all, within the blood-colored eyes of the unchanging bone, a faint, dark fire seemed to appear in the empty eye sockets. Within the time it takes for one incense stick to burn, whoever fails to complete the blood sphere and delays the awakening of the unchanging bone, I will personally refine you into an unchanging bone. The Song family ancestor snorted coldly, slowly speaking, his voice echoing only in the ears of Bai Xiaochun and the others. Bai Xiaochun's heart trembled. The instantaneous condensation of blood energy had greatly invigorated him. The boundless blood energy within his body propelled the second stage of the immortal diamond scroll, and his demonic power surged again, now reaching the power of 5 demons. Too stingy, Bai Xiaoqun muttered to himself, but he dared not disobey, only able to restrain himself a little. The others also bowed their heads and did the same. Soon, the time it takes for an incense stick to burn had passed. The blood spheres above the heads of the 8 people, including Bai Xiaoqun, had all reached 90% completion. This final 10%, they had clearly resolved not to complete it until the very last moment. Any extra time would be better. After all, today's opportunity was comparable to creation itself. This was the collective support of all the cultivators of the Bloodstream sect. In just the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Bai Xiaoqun's immortal diamond scroll suddenly surged again, his physical strength reaching the level of 6 barbarian demons. His entire body ached and itched, a feeling that made him want to scream. No, time is almost here. Bai Xiaoqun was reluctant but helpless. He sighed inwardly, intending to concentrate his blood energy in the last 10 breaths, when suddenly a thought crossed his mind. I wonder if, when I condense a drop of true immortal blood imbued with my will, it's possible to control that undying bone. Bai Xiaoqun became excited at this thought. He felt that if he succeeded, it would be a great achievement, but then he thought of how kind the Bloodstream sect had been to him. So he felt a little conflicted. Song Zhengluan, the ancestor of the Song family, and several grand elders on the mountain all treated me fairly well, although they were sometimes ruthless, but overall, it was still good. Bai Xiaoqun sighed, then considered that with his cultivation level, the chances of controlling the immortal bone were extremely small, so he no longer hesitated. Anyway, I'll just try. Whether I succeed or not depends on fate. Bai Xiaoqun's eyes flickered as he lowered his head. While others were refining their blood, he did the same, but secretly released a trace of blood energy from his own immortal blood and flesh, slowly integrating it into the large amount of blood energy being absorbed. After more than 10 breaths, when the Hanyan ancestors' eyes showed a glint of light, signaling the end, the blood sphere above Songquest's head immediately flew out. Su Xiaoshan did the same, and so did the others. Bai Xiaoqun, in particular, hurriedly opened his eyes, and the blood sphere above his head instantly flew up. He felt a surge of tension. His blood cells looked like those of others, but in reality, they contained a genuine trace of his own immortal blood, including my own will. Perhaps it won't be detected. After all, my immortal blood is the genuine one. The others are all imitations. Even if they notice the difference, they'll only think I'm trying harder, since I have the bloodline of ancestor reversal. As Bai Xiaoqun was feeling anxious, 8 blood spheres flew towards Hanyan Zhenren. After glancing at each one, Hanyan Zhenren didn't stop at all, but raised his right hand and waved it. Immediately, these 8 blood spheres flew straight towards the unchanging bone inside the blood eye in the sky. Bai Xiaoqun breathed a sigh of relief, looking expectantly at the unchanging bone inside the blood eye. He saw that after approaching, the 8 blood spheres directly merged into the unchanging bone. After the rapid fusion, the entire body of the unchanging bone erupted with immense vitality, and the dark flames in the empty eye sockets immediately blazed up, becoming brighter and brighter. In the end, the unchanging bone directly stood up, tilting its head back and roaring to the heavens. Under this roar, the heavens and earth faded, the world exploded, and an earth-shattering aura continuously spread from its body. A void whirlwind appeared, sweeping everywhere, turning the entire sky and earth into a hazy void. Moreover, at this moment, as the unchanging bone awakened, the thousand-faced demon beside it, along with the withered skin and the blood sword, all trembled simultaneously. As if being drawn to awaken at the same time, a creaking sound spread everywhere at this moment, and countless cracks appeared in the pupils of its blood-red eyes, as if a seal was shattering. Before Bai Xiaochun could sense whether he had succeeded or not, Han Yanzhenren flicked his sleeve and went straight into the blood eye. The eyes of the other ancestors also lit up at this moment, and they all flew towards the blood eye. The ancestor of the Song family was the last to enter, but before he stepped into the blood eye, he turned his head to look back at the ground. 1 month from now, the Blood Peak trial. The old man's voice echoed like thunder. In an instant, he stepped into the blood eye. The thousand-faced demon awakened, its withered skin bursting with life, and the small figure on the blood sword opened its eyes. The cracks in its pupils quickly closed, collapsing as if opening a hole, and 8 bloodstream sect ancestors simultaneously stepped in. Boom! As they entered, the entire sky blurred. The blood-red eye instantly vanished, and the bloodstream sect cultivators below all ended their meditation and looked up. Under the arrangement of the sect master and the great elder of the mountain, everyone dispersed, but countless questions remained in their hearts. They had seen the details, but did not know why the ancestors had ultimately entered the blood eye. But no matter how they thought about it, the war was clearly not over. Bai Xiaochun was anxious, and in the end, he still couldn't confirm whether he had succeeded or not. He pondered for a while before returning to his cave dwelling. After consolidating his rapidly increasing physical strength, more than half a month had passed. The Blood Peak trial, as mentioned by the Song family's ancestor, was only 3 days away. At the same time, discussions about the Blood Sun trial began throughout the Bloodstream sect. Each generation of the Bloodstream sect only had 4 Blood Suns. Any Blood Sun, after achieving the Golden Core stage, could surpass the Supreme Elders and become a Blood Spirit. However, this generation's Blood Sun had never appeared. Now, before the final war, a Blood Sun trial had to be held to select one. Once the Blood Sun was chosen, the combat power of the entire Central Peak would be significantly boosted by the Blood Sun's own blood energy. This was a momentous occasion for the Bloodstream sect, especially for the cultivators of the Central Peak, because, theoretically, the Blood Sun status was something all Foundation establishment cultivators in the Central Peak could attain. However, everyone understood that only 2 people could become Blood Suns of this generation. One was Blood Plum, and the other was Grand Elder Song Jungwon. It must be Blood Plum, the young mistress. Blood Plum is at the peak of the 9-fold Earth Vein. It would be a loss for our Central Peak if she didn't become a Blood Sun. I think the Grand Elder has a very high chance of success. After all, she has the cultivation of Foundation establishment great perfection. Although Blood Plum is at the peak of the Earth Vein, she is only in the mid-stage of Foundation establishment, not as good as the Grand Elder. The Blood Sun trial, besides the competition of cultivation and combat power, also has many other factors. Each person needs a guardian to escort them. The strength of the guardian is also a very important factor. All sorts of discussions spread more and more as the time for the Blood Sun trial drew closer. The day before the blood trial, late at night, as Bai Xiaochun sat cross-legged in meditation, outside his cave dwelling, the figure of Grand Elder Song Jungwon approached step by step in the moonlight. Her exquisite beauty, illuminated by the moon, was even more elegant and captivating. "Junior brother Yi, are you resting?" Outside the cave dwelling, Song Jungwon spoke softly. Before Song Jungwon arrived, Bai Xiaochun had been waiting in his cave dwelling for many days. He thought about how Song Jungwon had mentioned coming to find him after she emerged from seclusion, but the blood trial was scheduled for tomorrow, and she still hadn't appeared. Just as he was wondering if he should take the initiative, he heard Song Jungwon's voice coming from outside. Bai Xiaochun's eyes immediately lit up. He quickly cleared his throat, not immediately opening the cave-dwelling door, intending to use this opportunity to make her wait a little longer, thereby increasing his own value. He wasn't entirely sure himself, but if he didn't participate in the blood trial, it would be an opportunity for him. If he could silently and stealthily enter Song Jungwon's cave dwelling, he could have a chance to obtain the eternal and indestructible item without having to participate in the blood trial. However, doing so also carries immense danger, making it difficult to choose between the dangers of the blood trial and the real danger. While Bai Xiaochun was deep in thought, the main door of his cave dwelling suddenly opened silently, and Song Jianwan stepped inside. Bai Xiaochun jumped back in fright, hastily retreating a few steps, bewildered and anxious. This was his cave dwelling, surrounded by several forbidden formations, yet Song Jianwan had entered on her own. I am the great elder of the Central Peak, acting as the Blood Sun's commander of the Central Peak. Every tree and blade of grass here, every cave dwelling, if I wish to enter, no one can stop me. Song Jianwan smiled faintly, her gaze sweeping over Bai Xiaochun as if seeing through his thoughts. Besides, how could junior brother Yizhang refuse me entry to his cave dwelling? So instead of waiting for you to open the door, I might as well go in myself. Song Jianwan finished speaking and sat down on the stone bench beside her, resting her chin on her hand, her eyes carrying an indescribable cuteness. This gaze, like a hook, sent shivers down Bai Xiaochun's spine. His expression quickly turned serious, and he spoke in a low voice. Is blood child really that important to you? Bai Xiaochun looked at Song Jianwan with a serious expression. Song Jianwan stared intently at Bai Xiaochun, remaining silent for a long time before gently nodding. For so many years, Zhongfeng has been under the control of my Song family. For generations, Bloodchild has been the possession of the Song family's prodigies, but now things are different. The two ancestors, the old ancestor and the supreme ancestor Wuji, made a deal. The condition was that the despicable Blood Plum had the qualifications to compete for the Blood Seed in exchange for information on the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment. Unfortunately, Songkyu didn't strive hard enough to compete, failing to achieve the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment. While that despicable Blood Plum became the 9-title Earth Vein, since then, Queer has been completely unable to compete with Blood Plum, and this time, the Blood Seed can only be contested by me. I hope you will be my protector, helping me compete for the Blood Sun's identity. Song Jianwan looked at Bai Xiaochun, waiting for a convincing answer from him. Bai Xiaochun pondered. After hearing what Zhua Miai said, his judgment on this matter became even clearer. But he felt a little dangerous about this Blood Sun competition. When he looked up, his expression was serious, and he didn't speak. I won't let your help go to waste. Today you are also a Blood Elder, if I succeed. I will definitely do my best to make you the next Grand Elder, Song Jianwan said slowly. After speaking, her face inexplicably flushed slightly, and the alluring charm in her eyes increased, like countless hooks, making Bai Xiaochun secretly exclaim, "What a temptress!" He coughed, avoiding Song Jianwan's captivating eyes, weighing the pros and cons in his heart. Not participating in the Blood Sun trial and secretly harvesting the immortal treasure carries immense danger, while participating in the Blood Sun trial is equally perilous. The only difference is that one is uncontrollable, while the other is somewhat manageable. One carries a high chance of failure, while the other offers a considerable chance of success. Comparing the two options, Bai Xiaochun had clearly made his choice. He gritted his teeth and looked at Song Jianwan. You want to become a Blood Sun, so of course I should help you. Tell me, what is the process of this Blood Sun trial? How is one considered to have been promoted to Blood Sun? Bai Xiaochun cautiously inquired, his mind already determined to prioritize his own safety even if he had to help. This would undoubtedly reduce the level of danger significantly. Song Jianwan's face lit up with excitement, a strange glint in her eyes as she looked at Bai Xiaochun. After a long pause, she covered her mouth and chuckled softly, her gaze gentle as she said, "The blood trial is a secret to many, and I won't hide it from you. Death will occur in every trial." Even with his preparation, Bai Xiaochun's heart pounded. He feared the word death the most and felt a surge of anxiety. Because the trial location isn't outside, but beneath our feet. Song Jianwan's voice was low, but her words were like thunder. Underfoot. Bai Xiaochun was slightly startled, lowering his head to look at the ground, an idea surging through him. After his eyes narrowed slightly and he took a deep breath, he clearly figured out the answer. That year, when you first saw the Bloodstream sect, didn't you feel that our Bloodstream sect was like a giant hand? Song Jianwan looked at Bai Xiaochun and chuckled softly. I can guess that Bai Xiaochun has already come to a conclusion in his heart. The bloodstream sect is truly a giant hand, a hand of a colossal being reaching out from the Tongshan River. All the cultivation techniques of the bloodstream sect are the result of years and generations of people studying this giant hand, creating them from it. We call this giant the blood ancestor, a fervent adoration shown in Song Jungwon's eyes. This kind of reverence surpassed everything else. This wasn't unique to her. Most members of the bloodstream sect felt the same. Bai Xiaochun blinked, remaining silent. Although the blood ancestor is a giant, he's just like us, with flesh and blood, bones, and internal organs. To become a blood son, one needs the blood ancestor's approval. This approval is the blood ancestor's 5-organ crystal. Passing through the entrance to the blood son's central peak shrine allows one to enter the central peak, and through the meridians and blood vessels, one can enter the blood ancestor's body. The corresponding central peak is the heart within the 5 internal organs, where the blood essence crystal exists. In the trial, the first person to obtain the blood essence will be approved by the central peak, can stir the blood energy of a peak, suppress the cultivation of a peak cultivator, and even increase the combat power of a peak cultivator. This is the blood sun. Song Jungwon's words made Bai Xiaochun take a deep breath. Although he had some understanding of blood suns before, only now did he truly understand why blood suns held such a high and noble status. A mountain with a blood sun and a mountain without one are simply incomparable. I've heard a legend, Bai Xiaochun suddenly asked. You mean the legend of the blood demon? Song Jungwon smiled, and after seeing Bai Xiaochun nod, she continued. This legend is a conclusion reached by generations of ancestors. They believe that within the blood ancestor's body, there must still exist a genuine blood essence inheritance. The blood son's 5 fingers are not an inheritance, but rather a blood demon overshadowing the blood son, even surpassing the ancestors. Because, based on the sect's speculations from many generations, if a blood demon were to appear, since the bloodstream sect has been cultivating with spiritual blood for many years, this blood demon could, with a single thought, suppress the bloodstream sect from the outer sect to the ancestors, increasing everyone's cultivation by 50%. With the same thought, it could also increase the combat power of everyone in our bloodstream sect by 30%. Such a person, the 2 words blood demon are difficult to describe, so if even one appears, outsiders don't know. Only our main lineage ancestors know the name. Blood Master. Song Jungwon softly uttered these 2 words. But legends are just legends. Even today, through generations of ancestors, we've searched within the blood ancestor's body. Although more than half of the area is still unreachable, we haven't found any trace of the inheritance within the known areas. I also hope to see someone in our bloodstream sect become a blood master while I'm still alive. But the ancestors understand that once a blood master appears, they will either lead the bloodstream sect to unprecedented glory or cause its downfall. Some ancestors hope for the existence of a blood master, while others don't. My Song family's ancestors hope for the appearance of a blood master. Let's not talk about this legend anymore. Let's talk about this blood sun trial, Song Jungwon said with a smile. This trial's ultimate goal is to help me obtain the blood essence, and the focus during this process is on combat power and speed. Your job, and that of my other guardians, is to wholeheartedly escort me into the heart of blood plum before anyone else. As long as I enter the heart first, the blood essence will be mine. Song Jungwon took a deep breath, her eyes filled with confidence. How many guardians are there in total? Bai Xiaochun asked. I and blood plum can each bring 20 guardians into the trial area, Song Jungwon calmly replied. That many? What if the guardian who enters the heart first? Bai Xiaochun asked, slightly surprised. In principle, any guardian that I and blood plum bring can become a blood son, as long as they enter the heart first and obtain the blood essence to integrate into their body. They will be the blood son. Bai Xiaochun glared, not believing Song Jungwon's words. If it were true, it would be difficult to guarantee that no unexpected events would occur. Perhaps, besides some restrictive measures, the chosen guardian was also a decisive factor. Song Jungwon chuckled softly, not explaining too much. In fact, as Bai Xiaochun suspected, Zhu Mei and Song Jungwon were blood sun candidates designated by the ancestor, naturally possessing restrictive measures to prevent unexpected events. This measure was a special token integrated into their bodies. Only those with the token could enter the heart. Without it, entry was impossible. After a moment of contemplation, Bai Xiaochun gritted his teeth, finally making up his mind. He didn't consider competing for the Blood Sun position. After all, he wasn't a true disciple of the Bloodstream sect. His goal was the Grand Elder's cave dwelling, so he absolutely had to make Song Junwan a blood disciple. That way, he could ascend to the position of Grand Elder himself, and everything would be perfect. Because he had achieved his desires, Bai Xiaochun had been in the Bloodstream sect for many years. Now he had finally reached this point, and everything was right before his eyes. Tomorrow morning, in front of the Blood Sun Hall, I will be there. Bai Xiaochun raised his head and spoke in a deep voice. Song Junwan took a deep breath, looked at Bai Xiaochun, and the expression in her eyes deepened. Covering her mouth with a smile, she took a step forward to stand in front of Bai Xiaochun, gently leaning down to whisper in his ear, her lips carrying a soft warmth. If you become the Great Elder, then, between us, many things are not impossible. After saying this, Song Junwan's face flushed. She didn't know why she had said these words. After speaking, she looked deeply at Bai Xiaochun and floated away. The demon is making another move. Bai Xiaochun felt a fragrant scent wafting into his face and nose, transforming into dark thoughts that made his heart weak, and he immediately became alert. He watched Song Junwan leave with a hint of sadness in his heart. This won't do. If this continues, sooner or later I'll be taken advantage of by this demon. Although my willpower is strong, although I'm extraordinary, although I have many advantages, this demon is too powerful. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath, and after calming himself, sighed again. Forget it. I should seize the time to obtain the eternal and immortal artifact and quickly return to the Lingxi sect. Then everything will be fine. It's been so long, I've missed my little sister a bit, Bai Xiaochun said with a sigh. He sat cross-legged in meditation until the early morning of the second day before opening his eyes. His energy was abundant, and his cultivation had reached its peak. Only then did he stand up and leave the cave. Whether the first succeed or not depends on this time. Bai Xiaochun tilted his chin up and walked confidently. Along the way, several cultivators who saw him immediately bowed respectfully, especially since Bai Xiaochun was wearing a blood-red robe today. This robe was given to him a few days ago by Xiao Zifeng. It was a blood-red battle robe made specifically for him. Only blood-red elders could wear it, as it was a powerful artifact capable of withstanding the force of a single blow from a core formation expert. Extremely extraordinary. Any blood-red battle robe required an enormous amount of resources. At this moment, Bai Xiaochun, wearing the blood-red robe and with the handsome and extraordinary face of Yi Zhang, drew countless awe-filled gazes wherever he went. Bai Xiaochun was very interested in such treatment, so he slowed his pace slightly, leisurely ascending to the upper area. By the time he reached the Blood Palace on the summit of Zhangfang, everyone had already arrived. Song Junwan and Zhu Emei stood on either side, facing each other, their eyes filled with cold light. Behind Zhu Emei were 20 cultivators, all of them late-stage foundation establishment powerhouses, their expressions calm, yet subtly radiating a strong killing intent. Evidently, each of them, though not considered a prodigy, possessed considerable experience in killing. Outside, they were all well-known figures, which was why they could become Zhu Mei's protectors, and of course, it was also because of their significant connection to her father, Wu Jizi. Behind Song Junwan, there were quite a few people standing there with cold, stern expressions, Song Qiu being one of them. As for the others, Bai Xiaochun's gaze swept across them, recognizing many as members of the main branch of the Song family. Around this area, all the Blood Elders had arrived, and all the cultivators from the Central Peak had also gathered. After the Blood Sun trial opened, they would wait here until the Blood Sun appeared. In the sky, there were several vague figures, and although they only stood between heaven and earth, they exuded astonishing pressure. These were the Bloodstream sect's ancestors. There were a total of 4 of them. Bai Xiaochun had met 2 of them before when he awakened his unchanging bone. He was somewhat familiar with the other 2, the Song family's ancestor and Wu Jizi. When Bai Xiaochun arrived, the Song family's ancestor also saw him. He glared at Bai Xiaochun, making him jump in surprise. Bai Xiaochun quickly bowed his head and hurried to Song Junwan's side. You're useless, even late for the trial. If you're afraid of death and don't want to come, just say so. Songkyu looked at Yi Zhang beside him and sneered. Queer, you're being mischievous again. Bai Xiaochun scolded irritably, glancing at Songquest's newly grown hair and eyelashes. Songkyu gritted his teeth, staring at Bai Xiaochun. Just as he was about to speak, Song Jungwon snorted coldly. Enough! All of you shut up. If you want to argue, wait until after the trial is over. I'll preside over it for you, so you can have a good argument. Songkyu gritted his teeth and remained silent. Bai Xiaochun glared, feeling the oppressive atmosphere, and said nothing more. In midair, the Song family's ancestor and Wu Jizi exchanged glances, both smiling. Then Wu Jizi's gaze swept over everyone below, his low voice slowly echoing. The Blood Sun trial of the central peak begins. Wu Jizi's right hand formed a hand seal, and a finger pointed towards the Blood Sun Hall of the central peak below. The Blood Sun Hall rumbled, and a huge crack suddenly appeared in the ground of the square in front of the hall. From this crack, a thick blood aura poured out, along with waves of chilling, sinister intent. Everyone looked down at the dazzling blood-red crack, which resembled a large mouth waiting to devour flesh and blood, causing a shock in their hearts. Upon closer inspection, one might notice that the blood-red light within the crack seems slightly different, as if multiple worlds exist within it, and touching it would draw one into one of the worlds within. When the rift appeared, one of the guardians behind Blood Plum emerged. His expression was cold, his eyes filled with a chilling murderous intent as he looked at the group behind Song Jungwon, sneering contemptuously before stepping into the rift and disappearing. Then, the entire group of guardians behind Blood Plum followed suit, stepping into the rift and vanishing. The last to emerge was Blood Plum herself. She glanced indifferently at Song Jungwon and the others behind her, then entered the rift and vanished. This is the first gate of the Blood Sun's trial, called the Endless Blood Realm. As these people entered the rift one by one, Song Jungwon whispered to the 20 guardian cultivators, including Bai Xiaochun, explaining the Endless Blood Realm. This gate, I and Blood Plum have a direct way to pass through, but you cannot. Not everyone can enter the Blood Ancestor's body. Therefore, this first gate is a test for the guardians that I and Blood Plum have selected. Let's see how many of you can successfully enter the second gate. To enter the Blood Ancestor's body, you must become a part of him. Although the Blood Ancestor is dead, his body still has a part of its life force, not completely withered. Therefore, you must be allowed to enter. Only when that part that hasn't withered considers you a part of the Blood Ancestor will you not be rejected. Inside the rift, within that bloodlight, there are countless worlds. Only 2 people can enter each world. The guardians on Blood Plum's side have already chosen. When you enter the rift, these chosen worlds will suck you in. After 2 opposing individuals enter a world together, the first one to successfully replace the worlds will enter the second gate, while the loser will be expelled. In this world, you must not only be wary of the Blood Plum's guardians, but also of the blood beasts within. These blood beasts have no consciousness and are extremely bloodthirsty. I will wait for you at the second gate. Song Jungwon finished speaking, clasped her hands, and bowed to everyone. Songquest's expression was solemn. After nodding and coldly snorting at Yi Zhang, he stepped forward, being the first to enter the rift. The others followed suit. Bai Xiaochun was also inside, looking through the rift, hesitating for a moment before gritting his teeth and jumping in. As soon as he entered the rift, a stream of bloodlight swept towards him. After touching Bai Xiaochun's body, he immediately felt an immense suction force, and his body uncontrollably flew towards this bloodlight. From the outside, this blood-red light didn't look large, but now, as he perceived it, it felt like a vast sea of light. A powerful gravitational pull drew him towards the far end of this sea of light. It was an enormous blood-red sphere. Looking around, he saw countless such spheres. Bai Xiaochun even vaguely saw other people, just like himself, appearing outside different spheres and being quickly devoured by them. Bai Xiaochun, terrified, was about to avert his gaze when a strange change occurred. At that moment, all the surrounding blood spheres trembled simultaneously, emitting even more blood-red light that shone directly towards Bai Xiaochun. He even felt, whether it was an illusion or not, that these blood spheres seemed to be transmitting a certain desire. A desire for him to choose them. Some of the Blood World's spheres that hadn't yet been chosen by the Blood Plum Guardian were also stirring. In an instant, a blood-red light filled the sky, and even outside, cries of alarm rang out. Bai Xiaochun was tense. Before he could react, the blood sphere that had chosen him first seemed to go mad, flying up on its own without waiting for Bai Xiaochun to approach. In a flash, it collided with Bai Xiaochun, emitting a joyful will and powerfully sucking him in. Bai Xiaochun's vision went dark, and he was absorbed into the sphere. When everything cleared, he immediately found himself in a strange world. The sky was blood red, the ground was blood red, all the mountains, even the trees were blood red, and it was completely silent. This is really strange. Bai Xiaochun cautiously looked around, recalling the scene he had just witnessed, feeling extremely uneasy. After thinking it over, he concluded that all of this was probably greatly related to his immortal longevity technique. Could it be that I am the master of destiny? That's why, after I arrived here, all the blood spheres here went berserk. Bai Xiaochun's eyes darted around, and he cleared his throat. While sensing his surroundings, he vaguely perceived a distant will emanating a yearning, seemingly calling him to that place. There's also a guardian of blood plum here. I must be careful. Her guardian is in the late foundation establishment stage. Bai Xiaochun looked around cautiously, flying forward with a wary heart. As he flew, Bai Xiaochun felt something was amiss. He noticed that he didn't need to expend much energy, the wind simply carried him along. Moreover, he didn't see a single blood beast along the way, as if this place was devoid of them. In this world, whether it's the sky or the ground, everything is blood red. Even the mountains and trees are the same. Looking around, one sees only endless blood. In the distant horizon lies a blood-red desert, and the oasis at the end of this desert borders a blood-red sea. Deep in the ocean stands a mountain, towering as if reaching straight to the sky. This mountain is where the will of this world is attained. The first cultivator to enter the mountain will be blessed by the world's will, granted permission by the blood ancestor's body, and qualified to enter the second gate. There are countless such worlds within the blood ancestor's body. In this Blood Sun trial, Blood Plum and Song Jianguan opened a total of 20 worlds. With 40 guardians from both sides, a maximum of only 20 people can successfully obtain the qualification. The number of Blood Plum and Song Jianguan's guardians determined the strength of the forces at the second gate. Before Bai Xiaochun entered this world, Blood Plum's guardian had already arrived. He was a middle-aged man, thin and gaunt, but his eyes gleamed with a cold light. His late-stage foundation establishment cultivation level made him seem like a venomous snake. Anyone he stared at felt as if they were in mortal danger. And that was indeed the case. Among Blood Plum's guardians, Gulai was undoubtedly the strongest, easily ranking among the top 3. Except for 1 or 2 extremely powerful individuals besides Song Jianguan, he could easily wipe out everyone else. He looked middle-aged, but in reality, he was over 100 years old, only able to maintain his peak physical condition due to his cultivation of a special technique. Furthermore, when he participated in the Foundation Establishment Trial 60 years ago, he achieved 5 times the Earth Vein Foundation Establishment, possessing extremely powerful cultivation and excelling in assassination. Could this world be my blessed land? Gulai gazed into the distance, his hand gripping the 7-inch mark of a blood-colored sea serpent. No matter how much the serpent struggled, it couldn't escape his grasp. He casually squeezed lightly, and with a crack, the sea serpent shattered. Gulai didn't even look at the serpent. His eyes were fixed on the towering mountain in the distance. He found the first stage of this blood trial very interesting. Such a vast world, yet he had coincidentally arrived right next to the place of the world's will. He could see a towering mountain in the distance, radiating tremors across the ocean. Well, since it's like this, then that guardian of San Junwen is lucky. I can seize the world's will sooner rather than later without killing him. I wonder if that night burial fellow is the one. Who's entering this world with me? Gulai sneered. His original plan was to find the guardian Song Junwen, and after killing him, there would be no more uncertainties in this world, allowing him to successfully gain the world's approval. At that moment, his body shot forward, flying like an arrow across the blood-red ocean, quickly approaching the towering mountain. He proceeded cautiously, but just as he was about to get closer, his steps halted, and his expression instantly changed. A deafening roar suddenly erupted from the mountain, and the head of a blood-red dragon emerged from behind, staring intently at Gulai. This head was over 10 meters in size, its murderous aura overwhelming. A powerful sense of danger immediately caused Gulai's body to tremble. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead. His eyes widened and his mind was violently shaken. Impossible! How could there be such a blood beast here? This beast, it's no longer something a Foundation establishment cultivator can resist. As Gulai gasped for breath, a series of roars erupted, the breaths of countless blood beasts spreading from the mountain, causing the wind and clouds to change color and the sea of blood to surge. Not only that, but countless eyes filled with murderous intent flickered beneath the surface of the sea, densely packed, enough to startle anyone who saw them. It was as if Gulai dared to approach any closer, blood beasts from the seabed or the mountain would instantly appear and attack with all their might. Seeing the sudden influx of blood beasts, Gulai's scalp tingled, and he dared not advance further, slowly retreating. Only when he had retreated 1,000 feet did the giant dragon on the mountain slowly retract its head. The blood beast aura around him dissipated, and the countless eyes beneath the sea slowly closed. Gulai wiped the sweat from his forehead, his breathing heavy. He had been caught off guard in that instant. With so many blood beasts staring at him, even though he was very confident in his cultivation, he felt like his soul was about to be scattered. At this moment, 1,000 feet away, Gulai frowned, feeling troubled. There are too many blood beasts here. It's difficult to enter for now. I can only wait and find an opportunity. Gulai gritted his teeth, moved a little further away, and silently hid, waiting. After waiting for more than 7 days, the blood beasts here were still the same, not decreasing at all, and a murderous glint began to flash in Gulai's eyes. Alright, it's unlikely that much will change here anytime soon. Instead of suffering and waiting here, I'd better go find Song Junwan's guardian. After killing him, I'll have enough time to wait. If by chance the opponent is Night Burial, then it'll be less troublesome. Gulai pondered for a moment, then turned his head to look at the sea of blood behind him and sneered. His fort was ambush and assassination, and he was obviously also skilled in searching and had keen senses. Although this world was vast, he believed that with his cultivation level, finding that place wouldn't be too difficult. At this moment, his body flashed and he flew straight out of this place, beginning his search for the remaining person in this world. However, he hadn't gone far when the sea suddenly surged with waves, and a huge blood beast with a human body and a fish tail suddenly rushed out, carrying a bloodthirsty look as it charged straight towards Gulai. After a brief battle, Gulai killed the blood beast and continued forward. He hadn't gone far when 2 or 3 more blood beasts emerged from the seabed. At the same time, Bai Xiaochun was flying in the sky, and the further he flew, the stranger he felt. This world was too quiet. He had been flying for several days and hadn't seen a single blood beast. The ground was a desolate wasteland, with nothing in sight. This journey was extremely smooth at times. Even when Bai Xiaochun retracted his cultivation, his body was still carried forward by the wind. This feeling made him feel strange and even more vigilant. This place is unusual, and moreover, the Blood Plum Guardian arrived here before I landed. I must be wary of a sneak attack. Bai Xiaochun looked around cautiously, flying forward little by little. In an instant, he entered the desert area. At the same time, Gulai was fleeing in panic across the blood sea. Behind him, thousands of blood beasts were frantically chasing him. Gulai's face was pale, filled with terror. Damn it, why are there so many blood beasts here? I didn't provoke them, but why are they appearing one after another, even forming a beast tide? 10 days had passed quickly, and Bai Xiaochun truly felt that this place was extremely strange. Even now, he hadn't seen a single blood beast. If Song Junwan hadn't mentioned before entering that there were extremely ferocious and bloodthirsty blood beasts here, he wouldn't have thought there were any blood beasts here. Now, nearing the end of the desert, he could even see the blood-colored oasis in the distance, along with the blood-colored sea further beyond. The more astonished Bai Xiaochun became, the more cautious he grew. At the same time, on the other side, Gulai's hair was disheveled, his face haggard, and his eyes bloodshot. He had flown all the way from the sea, encountering countless blood beast attacks almost every moment along the way, facing numerous life-threatening situations. He had finally managed to evade them and arrived at this blood-colored oasis. Recalling everything he had experienced on the sea, Gulai was filled with extreme fear of this world. If it weren't for my life-saving techniques, I would have been on the brink of death. If I'm in such a predicament, that guardian of Song Junwan must have suffered the same fate. He might have been devoured by a blood beast along the way. Gulai turned to look at the blood sea, shuddering at the thought. Just as he was about to sit down to rest, a sudden thought struck him. He quickly looked up and saw a rainbow slowly approaching from the distant horizon. Oh! Gulai's eyes flashed with cold light. In an instant, he concealed all his cultivation and took out a bead in his right hand. This bead emitted a soft light that masked his aura. This strange bead made it very difficult for his aura to be detected, unless someone's cultivation was far superior to his. That object was also one of the means of protecting his life, helping him return safely from the blood sea. He remained motionless, his eyes narrowed as he gazed intently at the sky. Night burial, haha, I didn't expect it to really be him. A murderous glint flashed in Gulai's eyes as he smiled. Although Night Burial was famous, Gulai held him in contempt. He's just someone who knows how to refine medicine, flattering the sect's ancestors to please them, yet he thinks he's a prodigy. Even if you've undergone a bloodline reversal, you're still just a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Killing him would be as easy as pie for me. This time, killing him would complete the mission that Xiao Zifeng's blood son assigned me. Gulai remained calm, his killing intent concentrated, waiting for the opponent to approach before launching his attack. Bai Xiaochun remained vigilant, his speed slow, his divine sense spread out. As he slowly approached the blood-colored oasis, intending to fly past it, his expression subtly changed. He lowered his head and looked towards the blood-colored oasis below. Even though his third eye between his eyebrows remained closed, a sense of danger permeated his senses. Without hesitation, he immediately retreated upon sensing the danger. Oh, Gulai didn't expect Yi Zhang to be so perceptive. At this moment, he sneered, his cultivation erupting. He decisively abandoned his concealment and instantly launched himself upwards, transforming into a bolt of lightning carrying overwhelming killing intent, hurtling straight towards Yi Zhang. Yi Zhang, the one who will kill you is Gulai. Gulai threw his head back and laughed loudly, his speed incredibly fast, creating bursts of explosive sounds. The powerful aura caused the blood mist to swirl all around him. He formed a hand seal with his right hand and pointed, and the mist around him transformed into a gigantic blood-colored hand that slammed straight towards Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun's eyes narrowed. He had noticed earlier that Gulai was a prominent figure among the Blood Plum Guardians. Now Gulai's powerful aura immediately made Bai Xiaochun realize that this person was a formidable opponent. His cultivation is even higher than mine, yet he's hiding here to ambush me. I hate this kind of shameless and despicable person the most. This kind of person deserves to be struck by lightning. Bai Xiaochun was furious, his eyes flashing as he prepared to strike. At that moment, a scene unfolded that left Bai Xiaochun wide-eyed and speechless, a scene that Gulai couldn't believe. Almost as soon as Bai Xiaochun finished speaking, Gulai's laughter still echoed, and the mist surrounding his body transformed into a large, blood-red hand, instantly lunging towards Bai Xiaochun. Without any warning, a deafening explosion suddenly erupted from the blood-red sky. A massive lightning bolt, the size of a water barrel, appeared and directly struck Gulai. The deafening blast startled Bai Xiaochun, and Gulai cried out in shock, his large blood-red hand instantly disintegrating by more than half. He widened his eyes in disbelief, but before he and Bai Xiaochun could react, the second, third, and fourth lightning bolts struck in quick succession. Gulai screamed in agony, his large hand collapsing, the lightning striking his body and causing him to spit out blood. His face showed a look of utter disbelief and terror. What is this, Night Burial? What kind of divine ability is this? Gulai roared, his heart pounding as he rapidly retreated, looking up at the sky. Immediately, a buzzing sound echoed in his head. His scalp felt like it was about to explode. Suddenly, hundreds of lightning bolts appeared in the sky, roaring and hurtling straight towards him. No! Gulai let out a desperate cry. At this moment, he paid no attention to Bai Xiaochun anymore. He forcefully slapped his forehead with his right hand, spitting out a fragmented shield covered in intricate patterns to protect himself, and quickly retreated. As he retreated, over 100 lightning bolts continuously struck down. Although they were all blocked by the fragmented shield, Gulai still vomited blood repeatedly. Especially when the last 10 or so lightning bolts struck simultaneously, the shield could no longer withstand it and shattered. Gulai's mouth was full of fresh blood. He struggled to take out a talisman, his eyes filled with terror and disbelief. He pressed the talisman, and the burning talisman gave him incredible speed as he quickly fled. Bai Xiaochun's eyes widened in astonishment. From beginning to end, he had simply stood there, not even raising his hand, only uttering a single sentence. This scene was incredibly hard to imagine. He watched helplessly as Gulai approached him, only to be struck down by hundreds of lightning bolts in a frenzied barrage, forcing him to flee. In his shock, he didn't act rashly in pursuit. He took a deep breath, looked up at the sky, then at the direction Gulai had fled, and Bai Xiaochun blinked, suddenly feeling agitated. Could it be that my cultivation has reached a level even I don't understand, where a single word can decide life and death? Bai Xiaochun's excitement quickly faded, and after a moment of contemplation, he could only attribute it to coincidence or something related to the immortal longevity technique. He desperately hoped Gulai would reappear so he could make a more thorough judgment. Driven by curiosity and anticipation, Bai Xiaochun slowly flew through the air, entering the Blood Sea. Meanwhile, in the sea a certain distance from Bai Xiaochun, Gulai trembled, blood still clinging to the corners of his mouth. His eyes showed madness, yet deep within, a hint of fear lurked. He was certain that the empty lightning bolts were definitely not Night Burial's divine ability. What's happening? Damn it, what exactly happened? Why are so many lightning bolts striking me? I know now. This Night Burial has the title of Warm Demon. His methods are vicious, his schemes are deep and cunning. He obviously anticipated an ambush, so he used some kind of trick to strike anyone who approached him. It must be that, Gulai pondered for a long time, finally concluding only this. Though not entirely certain, he truly couldn't think of any other reason. Perhaps it's related to that battlefield, the boundary between the oasis and the desert, where unstable tremors exist. My sudden appearance and the dispersion of my cultivation must fit some kind of pattern. Yi Zhang is a pharmacist, possessing more knowledge than me, which is why he exploited me. Gulai gritted his teeth, his eyes blazing with murderous intent. I don't believe that with full preparation, I can't kill him. I must dismember him, torture him mercilessly. Gulai had never suffered such a great loss before. At this moment, he took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. Perhaps I should sacrifice my cultivation to obtain a hidden life force, unless it's a core formation cultivator. No one in the foundation establishment stage can detect my approach within 100 yards. Gulai gritted his teeth, his face flushed, his body becoming even thinner. And he began preparing again to find an opportunity to kill Bai Xiaochun. 3 days later, he finally found this opportunity. That day, Bai Xiaochun was flying over the Blood Sea. As he flew, the sea surface rippled, and all he saw was a sea of red. No blood beasts appeared. Bai Xiaochun wanted to see what blood beasts looked like, but he had no chance. While flying, feeling incredibly bored, suddenly, a distorted void appeared to his right, about 100 yards away. His eyes flashed as he turned his head to look, and he saw Gulai's figure silently appear 100 yards away. Almost immediately after Bai Xiaochun looked back, Gulai threw his head back and laughed loudly, his eyes bloodshot. With a loud bang, his entire body transformed into a cloud of blood mist, enveloping him. This blood mist swirled into a huge, ferocious skull that lunged to devour Bai Xiaochun. Night Burial, die for me. Gulai's speed was incredibly fast, instantly covering the 100-yard distance. At extreme speed, the blood mist, transformed into a skull, appeared before Bai Xiaochun, who was about to swallow it whole, his words still echoing in his mind. But before Bai Xiaochun could act, just as the blood mist skull approached, the sky and earth suddenly changed color, the wind and rain reversed, and an unimaginable whirlwind instantly condensed in front of Bai Xiaochun. This whirlwind was so immense that even the surface of the sea roared, seemingly wanting to sweep up half the ocean. Its overwhelming momentum directly sweeping towards the blood mist skull that Gulai had transformed into. A slight collision caused the skull to collapse with a resounding explosion, revealing Gulai inside, letting out a mournful and tragic scream. Impossible! How could this happen? Yi Zhang, his body was completely unable to stop, swept away by the whirlwind towards the horizon. But from the outside, one could still vaguely see him in the whirlwind, his clothes tattered, his flesh and blood a mess. If it weren't for Gulai taking out a life-saving treasure at the crucial moment and forcibly teleporting out of the area, he would have been torn to shreds in the raging storm. Bai Xiaochun took a deep breath. He was less than 20 feet away from Gulai, yet the immense storm, powerful enough to lift half the ocean, didn't even budge a single hair on his head. It was as if this 20-foot distance was a barrier between heaven and earth. Watching Gulai being swept away so miserably, Bai Xiaochun's eyes widened, his breathing becoming rapid. At this moment, if he still didn't understand, he wouldn't be Bai Xiaochun. This world is protecting me because I cultivate the immortal longevity technique because we share the same origin. Bai Xiaochun was instantly moved. He looked around, and this feeling became increasingly clear. After a long while, he recovered from his excitement. After taking a deep breath, he tilted his chin up, his sleeves fluttering. I, Bai Xiaochun, can reduce that little foundation establishment cultivator to dust with just a flick of my finger. Filled with pride, all of Bai Xiaochun's tension vanished completely. He swaggered forward, his thoughts racing along the way. At the same time, in a distant sea, Gulai was continuously spitting out fresh blood, almost going insane. Damn it, damn it, damn it, he screamed frantically, his body trembling, his eyes filled with intense unwillingness. First it was lightning, now it's a raging storm. What kind of trick has this night burial used? Could it be that this world is protecting him? I don't believe it, and I refuse to accept it. Gulai roared, spitting out fresh blood. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked down at his battered body, becoming even more insane. At this moment, he was severely injured, but fortunately, his storage bag, which he had tightly clutched during the storm, was still intact. After changing his clothes, Gulai's killing intent soared. His hatred for Bai Xiaochun had reached an irreconcilable level. He gritted his teeth and took out a statue from his storage bag. It was a ferocious-looking vengeful ghost statue. Gulai hesitated for a moment, then bit his tongue and spat a mouthful of blood onto the statue. The statue immediately dissolved, finally turning into a puddle of black liquid, which condensed into a talisman that flew up and engraved itself on Gulai's forehead. Gulai's whole body trembled, and he let out a mournful scream. The runes on his forehead spread out, eventually transforming into a black armor that enveloped his entire body. At this moment, his body visibly swelled, his injuries healing rapidly. He underwent a tremendous transformation, no longer thin and frail, but incredibly strong. However, upon closer inspection, he appeared vaguely on the boundary between reality and illusion. The blood sun Xiaozi Feng gave me this demonic body, which can help me recover my cultivation in a short time and even allow me to advance further, acquiring the ghost shadow body. I've clearly seen the strange lightning of that night burial, and as for the wine, although I can't predict it this time if I emerge from the bottom of the sea to attack. With the illusory ghost shadow, I can at least avoid the wind. Night burial, I don't believe this world favors you. Even if it does, I will defy heaven and advance, and I must kill you. Gulai gritted his teeth, restrained his cultivation, and flew down into the sea, rushing forward. At this moment, he was giving it his all and risking his life. 3 days later, Bai Xiaochun was on the Blood Sea. He continuously sensed tremors coming from afar, knowing that this was where the world's will resided. Why haven't I seen Gulai for several days? Bai Xiaochun missed him a little. He really wanted to see what kind of techniques this world would employ when he finally appeared. In anticipation, Bai Xiaochun flew slowly forward. It wasn't until the sunset of the 3rd day, when the blood-red sky darkened slightly, that a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the dim sea below Bai Xiaochun. As this aura spread, the seawater shot up into the sky, and a roar filled with killing intent and madness echoed from something within the sea. Night burial, accept your death. This voice contained an indescribable hatred. Gulai, clad in black armor, his entire being ethereal, suddenly surged forth from the seawater. His speed was incredibly fast, twice as fast as before, instantly reaching Bai Xiaochun. Gulai's killing intent was dense. His late-stage foundation establishment cultivation erupted at this moment, coupled with the enhancement of his ghostly armor, infinitely approaching the great perfection stage, creating an overwhelming pressure that enveloped everything. Bai Xiaochun immediately looked at the approaching Gulai with surprise, tilted his chin, waved his sleeve, and raised his right hand, pointing a finger at Gulai. Step back. You! Gulai's eyes turned crimson. Seeing Bai Xiaochun's appearance only fueled his rage. He immediately roared curses, his right hand forming a hand seal, and a finger pointed at Bai Xiaochun. Still moving at incredible speed, he was within 3 meters of Bai Xiaochun. He grinned, certain that neither lightning nor a hurricane could stop him. Night burial before him was undoubtedly doomed. But before he could finish cursing, a gigantic blood-red hand suddenly appeared in the calm ocean, instantly reaching out from the water's surface and, with unimaginable speed, directly slapped him across. Gulai, who had just approached Bai Xiaochun by a meter, was instantly struck by the finger of this blood-red hand, like swatting a mosquito. A single slap sent him flying. Boom! The black armor surrounding Gulai shattered, and he coughed up fresh blood, his pathetic cries shocking to behold. Now, Gulai desperately spat blood, his body almost collapsing. The cultivation power he had just recovered was once again severely damaged, leaving him weak and powerless to resist, directly sent flying into the distance by that finger. Bai Xiaochun's eyes widened, and he took another deep breath. After watching the enormous blood hand fall back into the sea and disappear, he raised his head and followed the direction where Gulai had been struck, a look of admiration on his face. This person is truly resolute, Bai Xiaochun murmured, withdrawing his gaze and continuing to fly forward, his heart anticipating when the other party would arrive next. In the distance, Gulai floated on the sea, his face blank, tears of resentment welling up in his eyes. He had cultivated for many years, always shedding blood but not cares. But today, here, he wept. He felt this world was full of malice towards him. He only wanted to destroy Yi Zhang. Yet, lightning, then a raging storm, and finally a terrifying hand appeared and slapped him. He felt that his survival until now was a miracle. My cultivation is higher than his, and I've been in the bloodstream sect longer than him, so why does this world favor him so much? Gulai's hairs flowed even more profusely. He felt that since entering this world, he had stepped into a nightmare. At this moment, he was terrified of Bai Xiaochun to the extreme. No matter what, he didn't dare think about provoking him again. He resented Blood Mai and Blood Plum, because if it weren't for Blood Plum, he wouldn't have come here, and he wouldn't have encountered Yi Zhang. If it weren't for Blood Mai's manipulation, he wouldn't have stubbornly tried to eliminate Yi Zhang so many times, leading to this situation. He felt that the entire world was targeting him. It's unfair. At this moment, Gulai was very close to the mountain where the worlds will existed. He looked at the mountain, seeing that there seemed to be even more blood beasts on it, which only deepened his despair. Not long after, far above in the sky, Bai Xiaochun staggered forward, looking up at the mountain. Bai Xiaochun clearly felt the will of the world at the mountaintop. He only needed to reach it to exit the first gate. But as he approached, the giant dragon suddenly stretched its head out from behind the mountain, staring intently at Bai Xiaochun. Meanwhile, powerful auras appeared on the mountainside, all focused on Bai Xiaochun, as if the blood beasts would all rush out at once if he got closer. Bai Xiaochun stopped in his tracks. Before, he had only seen a large hand. Now he truly saw the appearance of the blood beasts. These blood beasts resembled the ferocious beasts outside, but their entire bodies were blood red, even somewhat similar to killer beasts. Gulai was drifting desperately on the sea when he saw the blood beast on the mountain reappear and show hostility towards Bai Xiaochun. His heart suddenly leapt violently, his breathing became rapid, his eyes widened, and a glimmer of hope reappeared. He can't get in either, Gulai exclaimed excitedly, feeling he still had a chance. He quickly concealed his aura, staring intently at Bai Xiaochun, contemplating how to seize an opportunity to win in this world. Bai Xiaochun, his head aching, looked at the blood beasts on the mountain. After a moment of hesitation, he decided he had to try, especially since he had previously felt that the entire world was protecting him. After some deliberation, Bai Xiaochun cautiously took a few steps forward. Seeing that the blood beasts didn't react strongly, he continued to take a few more steps. Thus, cautiously, he slowly approached the mountain. When he reached the top of the mountain, Bai Xiaochun felt tense, but quickly calmed down. He discovered that even though he had reached the top, the blood beasts were still watching him. Not a single one tried to stop him. Overjoyed, Bai Xiaochun quickened his pace, still unimpeded, and excitedly hurried towards the mountaintop. Meanwhile, on the sea surface, after witnessing everything firsthand, Gulai's eyes widened in astonishment. He suddenly stood up, his face showing deep thought, then quickly panicked, his eyes filled with intense excitement. I understand now. Although there are many blood beasts here, as long as I don't reveal any killing intent, they won't stop me. It must be so. Therefore, even though I'm lying on the sea surface, clearly quite close to this mountain, the blood beasts at the bottom of the sea still haven't attacked me. It's because I don't have any killing intent right now. Gulai hesitated slightly, feeling uneasy, but he couldn't just leave like this. He gritted his teeth, a determined expression slowly appearing on his face, and he restrained himself from revealing any killing intent, cautiously approaching. As he neared the mountain, blood beasts from all directions turned their gazes towards Gulai. Gulai's footsteps halted, his scalp tingling, his body trembling as he tried to force a smile. I had no ill intentions. I was just passing by. Gulai hastily began. As soon as he spoke, on the mountaintop, the head of the blood-colored giant dragon suddenly stretched out, letting out a roar, then ferociously lunged at Gulai. At the same time, the other blood beasts on the mountain also unleashed their fierce aura, all flying towards Gulai. Even beneath the sea, countless eyes appeared again. After these eyes fully opened, a whole group of blood-colored giants of varying sizes flew out of the water, roaring and attacking him. Gulai let out a mournful, pathetic cry, tears streaming down his face. "It's unfair! You're cheating!" Gulai cried, feeling that this world was playing a cruel joke on him. Amidst his desperate cries, countless blood beasts around him rushed towards him. Bai Xiaochun also trembled. The sudden outburst of these blood beasts had made him instinctively want to flee, but then he realized they were all charging towards Gulai. He had seen Gulai before, but obtaining the world's will was more important, so he hadn't paid attention to him. Now, looking back, Bai Xiaochun felt a pang of sympathy. As for the other party's words, Bai Xiaochun simply coughed, offering no explanation. He himself felt that it was indeed true. After all, since entering this world, he had done almost nothing, only flying straight here. Until he reached this point, the blood beasts hadn't stopped him, letting him pass freely. Bai Xiaochun felt that this world had treated him too well. Turning to look at Gulai amidst the blood beasts, Bai Xiaochun hesitated, wondering if he should throw over an aphrodisiac pill. "All right, I'm a kind cultivator." Bai Xiaochun sighed as he reached the mountaintop, where he saw a stone tablet standing upright. The tablet was emitting countless rays of light, and a constant summoning sound emanated from it. After a moment's thought, Bai Xiaochun approached the stone tablet, raising his right hand and placing it on it. The moment his hand touched the tablet, his mind was shaken, and his consciousness seemed to instantly expand, merging into the entire world, as if this world had become a part of his body. At this moment, the sea of blood surged, the desert rose high, the sky whirled, and the ground trembled. Countless plants, mountains, and all living things in this world, at this moment, emitted a wave of joyful thoughts, like cheering, and even more like worship. All the blood beasts simultaneously knelt and bowed, letting out roars of submission towards Bai Xiaochun on the mountaintop. Gulai, having narrowly escaped death, trembled at this moment, staring blankly at Bai Xiaochun. He would never forget what he had experienced here, never be able to forget it. At this moment, Yi Zhang was like an emperor, like the master of the entire world. This was Gulai's first time participating in the blood trial as a guardian. He had never experienced anything like this before, nor did he know what others in this world had felt or experienced. But his intuition told him that everything he had just experienced here was absolutely different from everyone else. He even had a strong premonition that, throughout history, no one in the entire bloodstream sect had ever been like Yi Zhang in the blood trials. He couldn't confirm whether these premonitions were right or wrong, but at this moment, witnessing the heavens and earth trembling and all living beings kneeling in reverence, he involuntarily also knelt and bowed towards Bai Xiaochun on the distant mountaintop. Standing at the mountaintop, Bai Xiaochun felt a strange sensation at this moment, as if a single thought could instantly decide the life and death of the entire world. Inside his body, the immortal longevity technique was also circulating rapidly. Deep within him, he seemed to hear a voice, echoing in his ears. "Come, come, come!" Bai Xiaochun suddenly awoke, his eyes flashing with a sharp glint. After a moment of silence, he took a deep breath and slowly lifted his right hand from the stone tablet. All things in this piece of heaven and earth emitted a powerful blood-red light. This blood-red light converged towards him, turning the area around Bai Xiaochun into a sea of red. This red light coalesced into a large gate that slowly opened before Bai Xiaochun. Looking through this door, Bai Xiaochun fell silent. He knew clearly that this was the great gate leading to the second trial. At this moment, he turned his head to look back at the vast expanse of land behind him, lifted his foot, and took a step inside. The surrounding blood-red light and his figure vanished, leaving no trace. Inside the blood ancestor's body, the exact location was unknown. It was a desolate wasteland, stretching as far as the eye could see, with no horizon in sight. It was boundless and infinite, its end invisible, only visible as pillars of stone rose from the ground like drills. These pillars formed platforms, filled with emptiness and nothingness, and the surroundings were utterly silent. Among these many platforms, two were the largest, approximately 10,000 feet in diameter, not far apart. Blood Plum and Song Jianwan sat cross-legged on each platform, facing each other from a distance. The two newcomers had arrived less than an hour ago. Unlike the other guardians, they possessed tokens and didn't need to compete to gain the blood ancestors' recognition. They could directly appear here and wait for the guardians to arrive. Time in the Endless Blood Realm was completely different from here. 1 hour here was equivalent to 1 month in the Endless Blood Realm. According to their estimation, they would have to wait at least several more hours before the guardians emerged from the Endless Blood Realm. As for the second level of the Blood Sun trial, they needed to present their tokens to open it. Neither of them wanted to open it early, preferring to wait until their guardians were all gathered before passing through the second gate. Song Jianwan, you're so old. Why are you still competing with me for the Blood Sun title? Is the Song family all dead? Why would they choose an old woman like you to fight? Blood Plum sneered. They had disliked each other since arriving, and Blood Plum spoke first. Song Jianwan's eyebrows arched, and just as she was about to retaliate, her expression suddenly changed, and she abruptly looked up. Not far away, Zhu Enmiai also looked up, her pupils contracting. Above the two of them, in the void, a resounding explosion echoed, and a large gate slowly appeared. Someone has already attained the will of the world so quickly? It hasn't even been an hour yet, and for the Endless Blood Realm, it's less than a month. Zhu Mei's eyes narrowed, her heart involuntarily startled. She knew the Blood Sun's trial like the back of her hand. According to ancient tales, the fastest guardian only took half an hour, meaning it took less than half a month to pass the first stage. Who is this person? That's the Endless Blood Realm. Not only do they have guardians to fight against, but also blood beasts. To attain the understanding of the will of the world, one must endure a fierce battle. This person is unexpectedly so fast. Song Jianwan's heart was also shaken. Such a figure would be fine if he were on her side, but if he were Blood Plum's guardian, it would cause her immense trouble in the struggle for Blood Maiden's identity. Song Jianwan recalled her guardians, each face flashing before her eyes. She felt that none of them could accomplish this, and her expression immediately darkened. Blood Plum's expression was the same, her own. She recalled her own guardians, but couldn't be sure which one could. At this moment, her gaze was cold, and she and Song Jianwan stared intently at the door that had suddenly appeared in the void. Very quickly, a vague figure emerged from within the large door, becoming clearer and clearer. After a few breaths, the figure appeared before them, and Song Jianwan and Blood Plum exclaimed simultaneously, "Night Burial!" A murderous glint flashed in Zhu Mei's eyes. She was startled, her breathing quickening. She couldn't imagine how this Yi Zhang had managed to obtain the world's will so quickly. After her initial shock, Song Junwen's face lit up with joy, her beautiful eyes glancing at Bai Zikun. Bai Zikun had been dazzled when he entered the main gate, but now his vision cleared, revealing the entire area and countless platforms, as well as Zhu Enmiai and Song Junwen. "Yi Zhang, junior brother, come with me," Song Junwen said with a gentle smile, her heart filled with immense joy. Zhu Enmiai snorted coldly, clenching her fists. Bai Zikun glared, then strode towards Song Junwen, quickly reaching the platform behind her. "Am I the first one?" Bai Zikun asked curiously. "Of course, the first one." "How did you do it? Who was your opponent?" Song Jianwan smiled sweetly, her smile catching Bai Xiaochun's eye. He inwardly cursed, a monster, but his expression remained unchanged. He tilted his chin up, clasped his hands behind his back, his face arrogant, and a wave of killing intent emanated from him. It was simple, just walked straight through. "As for my opponent, I didn't ask for his name." Bai Xiaochun calmly opened his mouth, his profound aura radiating from him. His words revealed an air of immense arrogance, especially his concise and simple reply, which only fueled Song Jianwan and Du Mei's imagination. They pictured Yi Zhang, after entering the endless blood realm, condensing his blood sword and charging forward, slaughtering countless blood beasts, sweeping aside all obstacles, and slaying everything in his path, directly challenging the will of the world. In Song Jianwan's eyes, the expression grew even more reverent, and even Zhu and Mei scrutinized Bai Xiaochun several times. Soon after, both noticed that Bai Xiaochun showed no signs of injury whatsoever. Their expressions changed slightly, a strange feeling stirring within them. Just as Song Jianwan was about to ask a question, Bai Xiaochun flicked his sleeve and spoke indifferently. "I'm tired. Let me know when the second door opens." Having said that, he stepped aside, arrogant as a green pine tree, sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes, and remained motionless. The resolute expression on his face carried a cold ruthlessness, combined with the murderous aura emanating from him, forcing Song Jianwan to swallow her words before she could even ask. Bai Xiaochun sat down cross-legged, his heart blossoming with pride, confident that his current appearance was utterly transcendent and otherworldly. "No, I need a few more movements to make it more lively." Thinking this, Bai Xiaochun's cold face slightly lifted, as if looking into the distance, a hint of sorrow gradually appearing in his eyes. Both Song Jianwan and Zhu and Mei were shaken, finding him increasingly incomprehensible. Time passed, and an hour quickly ended. In the void, the large gate reappeared, and a burly man, his entire body radiating intense killing intent, walked out breathlessly. After glancing at the man, Zhu Mei's eyes showed clear joy. The burly man bowed to Zhu and Mei, walked to the platform, and as he sat down cross-legged, his gaze fell on Bai Xiaochun, his heart filled with surprise. He had originally thought he would be the first to come out, but he didn't expect this night burial to be even faster than him. Hour after hour passed, and the guardians emerged one by one. Song Qiu was among them, his expression weary, his body covered in injuries, clearly indicating the immense suffering he endured during his journey to gain worldly awareness. 5 hours later, the last guardian appeared, officially ending the first gate. Song Jianwan and Zhu and Mei had carefully selected their guardians. None of those present were ordinary individuals. At this point, their forces were clearly evenly matched. Each had 10 guardians who had successfully passed the first gate. The two looked at each other, their eyes radiating coldness. After a moment, both snorted coldly and turned to their respective guardians, explaining the key points of the second gate. In the blood trial, the first gate requires approval to pass. That's a matter of struggle, competition between you. Guardians, I won't participate. This time, the second gate is far more brutal, and I will participate as well. The second gate, called the blood-colored desert, is a path without beginning or end. Every 7 hours, a storm of annihilation will appear, and once it strikes, all life in the blood-colored desert will be swept away and turned into dry bones. But that is the only path leading to the heart chamber. We only have 7 hours to cross the blood-colored desert, and the only way is through the key. Song Jianwan's eyes welled up with terrors as she looked at everyone, speaking slowly. Not far away, Zhu and Mei was saying similar words to her guardians. There are 7 keys in total. In other words, only 7 guardians can ultimately enter the blood-colored ancient path with me and Zhu and Mei. Song Jianwan said slowly. As she spoke, the brutality of the blood-colored desert gradually became clear to everyone. Bai Xiaochun's expression suddenly changed. Except for Song Qiu, the expressions of the other guardians all changed. One middle-aged cultivator hesitated for a moment, then asked in a low voice, "What will happen to those who don't get the key?" Song Jianwan glanced at the cultivator and spoke indifferently. "This is a team competition. For the side that gets the most keys, those who don't, although not allowed to enter the blood-colored ancient path, won't die, they'll only be eliminated. But for the side that gets fewer keys, after 7 hours, those who fail will be eliminated. This is the rule. Even the ancestors can't save them. Therefore, this is not the time for you to slaughter each other. Unless the key is in the hands of the Blood Plum group, then you can freely compete. But if your side obtains it, you are forbidden to kill each other. Because if you attack each other, in the end, not only will I fail here, but you will all die here as well. Gentlemen, you are either members of my Song family or those to whom I have made promises. If I become the Blood Sun, your futures will be limitless, and I will certainly fulfill your requests. But if I fail, and Blood Plum succeeds, you will all fall into the abyss with me. Song Junwan took a deep breath, stood up, and bowed deeply to Bai Xiaochun and the others. Cho! Song Junwan's words caused a change in the expressions of Bai Zikun and the other guardians. Only Songquest's face remained gloomy and unchanged, clearly indicating that his status allowed him to foresee the situation. Furthermore, he knew a great deal about this Blood Sun trial. If he hadn't failed to achieve the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment, he would have been the main contender against Zhu Mei in this Blood Sun trial. But now, he couldn't compete with Zhu Mei, so the Song family chose Song Junwan to participate in this trial, ensuring that the position of Blood Sun at the central peak remained with the Song family. Because of this failure, many elders in the Song family were dissatisfied with Song Qiu, and the recent rise of Yu Zhang also put immense pressure on him. Moreover, the Song family also held Yu Zhang in some regard, all of which left Song Qiu with no way out. In the Bloodstream sect, the Song family has deep roots and is a very important clan. The main lineage also has no shortage of talented individuals, and Song Qiu, as the representative of the main lineage of this generation, knows very well that many of his clansmen want him to stumble so that they can rise to prominence. He must consolidate his own path and must do everything in his power to help the young woman succeed. Only then can he affirm his position, and it is through this merit that he may be able to reclaim the position of Blood Sun in the future. He even set aside his dislike for Yu Zhang. At this moment, he was the first to speak. In the blood-colored desert, I, Song, will certainly give my all, and I will absolutely not allow the guardians to kill each other. I respectfully ask the Great Elder to rest assured. If anyone dares to do anything underhanded here, we will die here, so be it. But if we are lucky enough to survive, when we get outside, I will make that person understand what it means to live a life worse than death. Songquest's eyes turned red, revealing a ferocious and overwhelming killing intent. The remaining people were breathing heavily. Given the severe punishment for failure, even though the Bloodstream sect monks preferred working alone and didn't trust each other much, at this moment everyone had to put aside their suspicions and unite to fight with all their might. Grand Elder, as long as you keep your promise regarding my previous request, I will do it even if it costs me my life. The Song family has shown me great kindness. I will certainly do my best. After a moment of silence, everyone spoke up one after another, exchanging glances. They could see that the other party's wariness towards them had significantly decreased. Bai Xiaochun felt a little troubled, realizing he had been deceived by Song Junwan. Although he knew there were many dangers here, he didn't think the danger would be so great that he, and possibly everyone here, would die, especially since it was an uncontrollable situation. Just as he finished sighing, Bai Xiaochun noticed everyone around him was looking at him. He quickly raised his head, revealing a cold expression as he looked at everyone and calmly said, "As long as it concerns Junwen, I will brave the flames and smoke, never refusing a righteous deed." These words caused the expressions of those around him to become strange, especially Song Qiu, who gritted his teeth, snorted coldly, and refused to look at Bai Xiaochun. A hint of guilt flickered in Song Junwen's eyes. She didn't say much, but gently reminded them, "You must pay close attention to those three over there, Yang Hongwu Xiqing and Zhang Yanchen." Of these three, Yang Hongwu and Zhang Yanchen mainly possess many valuable treasures, while Xiqing. At this point, a hint of apprehension appeared in Song Junwen's expression. This person could have reached the Golden Core stage many years ago, but time and again he didn't attempt it. Before, he was just a disciple beside Wu Jizi. Song Junwen whispered, clearly stating the three strongest individuals on the other side. Bai Xiaochun couldn't help but feel nervous upon hearing this. Just as Song Junwen finished speaking, Blood Plum had also finished assigning tasks to her guardians. The guardians on that side were staring intently at Bai Xiaochun and his group with murderous and ferocious eyes. In response, Song Qiu and his group also stared back, their eyes revealing equally intense killing intent, especially Bai Xiaochun, who, having become accustomed to such gazes while at the Lingxi sect, now glared back fiercely. HMPH, I've never been afraid of anyone until now. Bai Xiaochun's eyes widened. He was also following Song Jungwon's instructions to search for the 3 most dangerous individuals on the other side. It was clear that at the second gate of the blood-colored desert, everyone would engage in a bloody battle to seize the keys, which were crucial for their survival. Furthermore, since only 7 people could enter the third gate of the blood-colored ancient path, whichever side obtained more keys would have a significant advantage in the competition for the Blood Sun position. Song Jungwon, let's begin. Blood Plum took a deep breath and suddenly spoke. She raised her right hand, and a dazzling red light emanated from it. Immediately, a blood-colored token slowly flew out from her palm. The token, upon its appearance, immediately attracted everyone's attention, and Bai Xiaochun examined it closely several times. He knew that thanks to that token, Zhu Emei and Song Jungwon were different from the others. They didn't need a key to pass the first gate, nor did they need a key to pass the second gate. Instead, after 7 hours, they would be teleported together to the third gate, the blood-colored ancient path. This is the blood trial of the bloodstream sect, entirely an internal conflict. Everyone knows that. Bai Xiaochun sighed for a moment, then looked towards Song Jungwon. At this moment, a cold glint appeared in Song Jungwon's eyes. She waved her right hand, and in her palm was also a blood-colored token. Blood light from the 2 tokens instantly diffused, soaring upwards and converging in the space between the 2 platforms. After merging, a large amount of blood light emanated, dyeing the surroundings crimson. At the same time, a large door appeared inside the blood-red light, slowly opening amidst earth-shattering explosions. Immediately afterward, 2 beams of blood-red light shot out from the door, engulfing Song Jungwon and Zhu Emei, then transforming into tokens and merging into their bodies. The second door has opened. Follow me inside. Song Jungwon suddenly spoke, quickly flying towards it. Song Q and Bai Xiaochun, along with the other guardians, also quickly followed Song Jungwon straight to the blood-red door. Zhu Emei and the 10 other guardians also rapidly flew up, creating streaks of rainbow light as they entered the blood gate. Before long, there was no one left there, and the blood gate slowly dissipated, disappearing without a trace. The blood-red desert was a vast desert, but all the rocks and stones were the same red color. Looking around, one could only see a desolate wasteland. Each gust of wind carried a chilling heat, creating an eerie sound as countless stones and rocks rippled, giving everyone a sense of death. Occasionally, the ground revealed the bones of guardians who had participated in the blood trial before. Upon entering, Bai Xiaochun immediately sensed the overwhelming aura of death, his eyes narrowing slightly at the sight of a white skeleton not far from where he stood. He wasn't alone. Everyone else felt a chill. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the first key will appear here. Furthermore, once it appears, a large pillar of light will form to guide it. This pillar of light will not disappear until someone seizes the key. Now, you all spread out around here. Once you see the pillar of light, you must immediately fly towards it. The first person to obtain the key must be immediately protected by those around them. No one is allowed to take it. As for me, I will hold off Blood Plum. I see that Blood Plum has a rather extreme personality. He probably won't want to wait until the blood-colored ancient path to act, but will instead concentrate the forces of the Guardians and, right here, decide to decapitate the leader with me. If he doesn't intend to, I will force him, and if he agrees, I will open his eyes. In these 7 hours, I'm completely relying on you. Song Jungwon said quickly, then soared into the air alone, flying away hastily. After flying a considerable distance, Song Jungwon, in midair, channeled her power and shouted loudly, her voice echoing in all directions. Blood Plum, do you dare to fight me? In another part of the blood-colored desert, not far from Bai Xiaochun and his group, Blood Plum and her protectors had also landed. After hearing Song Jungwon's voice, a cold glint appeared in Blood Plum's eyes. Don't worry about me, you all go and fight for the keep, leave Song Jungwon to me, Blood Plum sneered, instantly flying straight towards Song Jungwon. In a moment, the two met in midair, both with murderous intent in their eyes, and immediately attacked. It seemed that Wu Jizi and the Song family's ancestor had a prior agreement. Because Song Jungwon's cultivation was higher, they wouldn't. With a supreme treasure surpassing her level, and Blood Plum, despite her lower cultivation, possessing numerous supreme treasures and a 9 times peak earth vein, the two were temporarily evenly matched. Their initial clash caused a deafening explosion all around. The expressions of everyone else became serious, especially Song-kyu, who was utterly shocked. He hadn't expected Song Joon-won to be so resolute. Everyone hesitated, their respect for Song Joon-won growing even stronger. Once Song Joon-won had gone far away, Song-kyu and the Guardians quickly dispersed, each choosing a direction to fly. Bai Zikun watched Song Joon-won's figure disappear into the distance. Then, he also found a direction to fly in. I didn't expect Song Joon-won to use herself as bait to force Blood Plum to act. She clearly prepared, but Blood Plum must have prepared quite a bit as well. Both of them wanted to quickly finish everything at this second gate. However, it's likely they were just testing each other's strength. Bai Xiaochun shook his head, flying quickly to another place. He had made up his mind not to compete for the first key. Everyone wants to steal what belongs to others. The one who holds the first key must guard it until the very end. Whoever gets it will surely suffer a terrible fate. Bai Xiaochun felt that although this trial was still inferior to the Eternal Sword world, it was time-limited, and death constantly loomed over them. Once the struggle for it began, it would inevitably be bloody and extremely brutal. Whoever gets near the first key is truly unlucky. Oh no, I should say very unlucky. Bai Xiaochun flew quickly, thinking to himself that he had to stay as far away as possible to avoid danger. While contemplating this, he looked around, and suddenly, right before his eyes, within his reach, at that very moment, a red light appeared. What is this? Bai Xiaochun stared at the light in astonishment. In just a few breaths, this point of light suddenly erupted with dazzling light, forming a column of light that shot up into the sky.